All right, welcome back to another Scars podcast. We got our brother Brett here and a crazy awesome guest that I can't believe he's here. I can't believe we got him here. He is all over the country doing all sorts of cool things. My friend Trey Canard, which arguably I still feel like maybe I'm biased on this. At one point in your time, you were the fastest guy on two wheels on dirt, defying gravity, Superman in the air. And this is a jab a little bit, but you were also the fastest to get back from an injury and even go faster the next time. That was amazing. So, but I just want to real quick, a couple of things. 250 SX East champion, 2008, 250 MX champion outdoor, rookie of the year, 2011 on your 450. I mean, I wish I could tell you how amazing that is to accomplish. It's hard to even put into words. You also were part of the last Tour de Nation American team to win. Is that right?
Yeah, we were kind of at that time. U.S. was like, if you lost, it was you were like disrespectful, you know. But now it's like if they win, it's a big deal. So yeah, I was one of the last teams that like didn't lose. So it was pressure, man. It was like don't be the guy to blow it.
Yeah, don't. What's happened? Because you're right. Since then, like there's just been some good, like you got, but everybody goes back to their nation, right? So these guys are now racing here in America, and then they go back to their country, right? Like a Ken Roxon, or not a Ken Roxon, but help me out here. One of the guys, the newer guys.
Yeah, we have like Tom Viel rode for France like last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a U.S. racer, but from France. So for Motocross of Nations, he'll kind of go back to France and connect with his team, and yeah, it's, I mean, I guess the best way to say is like the Olympics, you know,
it's like basketball,
different
or
athletes,
like
you know, that we have several different nationalities competing in the NBA, but you know, the Olympics roll around and they jump together on the same team. So
yeah. Well, speaking of the NBA, anyway, welcome, man. Thank you for being here. This is awesome. I could go back to the backstory of meeting you and how that, and I probably will interject some of that because he's just such a awesome human being. When in the world of celebrities, he's set apart. It really is, and it's your faith that sets you apart. In fact, you're a big part of my testimony of believing in God. I'll touch on that. I've touched on it before, but as an atheist, I was along the lines of there is nothing. If you say that there is, I'm going to try to tear you down. I'm going to try to make fun of a biblical story, even though I had no idea of the story. But then there was about 5 guys in my life, and Trey, you were one of them. From a distance, before I knew you, you weren't a hypocrite. Everywhere I saw you as you were coming, and I watched a lot of what you were doing, and you always were set apart. And it was like, not that I knew you or would challenge you because I didn't know you that well on your biblical knowledge, but there was something about you is like, you don't want to go challenge him on his biblical knowledge because it's going to mess up your paradigm. Whatever your little thing you got going on, that there's nothing out there, there's no creator, he's going to mess that up for you. So don't go there. But you were one of them, man. So I appreciate everything, just your continued walk to this day.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. It was one thing I remember about that time is I just kept seeing you.
I mean, it was weird.
So strange. I didn't really know you.
Like stalking wise?
No, it was.
I mean,
it kind of got creepy. I would see him in the airport.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I remember I was like at Panera one morning in Edmond, and I was not even living here. And I'm sure that's, God's hand in that. But yeah, it was strange, and it was really cool. I didn't know before like the end of that year. I think I knew you just because I'm like, oh yeah, that's the airport guy, the Panera guy. That's
some people would have got a restraining order. I mean,
it was so funny because I was like, I'm a sales guy, but I knew that I was drawn to him, and I just liked what he did. So I was like, okay, sales guy. So I'm going to watch some race or whatever, and then I read an article about what you were saying about quads versus triples versus, timing and so on. And so I see him at the airport with his lovely bride at the time. I think Hannah you weren't married at the time.
No,
but
I think we were still maybe engaged. Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Trey, how's it going? Hey, I read that article. And what do you think about that? And you're like, the nicest guy. Like, he was like, he just answered it, you know? And so anyway, Yeah.
Well, I think I want to hit on something real quick that I don't think a lot of us take for granted, that just because we don't know somebody doesn't mean that somebody's not watching us, right? And the fact that you were watching him from a distance and the way he was living his life and his profession of faith and stuff
100%.
had an impact on you, I think is a huge story for a lot of us, or just a reminder that regardless of where we're at in our life or what we're doing, if we're Christ followers, we need to be leading and living that way all the time, because we never know who it is that's going to be watching us and the impact that we have on them.
Yeah. I mean, you probably use this in your time as an atheist. You know, you probably met people that were hypocrites, you know, this guy, you know, I know him, but he's also cheating on his wife or whatever, you know, and that, I think the opposite's true though, that when you really live that out, like people notice.
Well, hats off to you. That's huge.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy to sit in this room with Chad. Like, and here we are. We're not, you know, we became, I would say, good friends. And then also, I mean, we're brothers in Christ, which is wild.
That whole brothers in Christ thing. I heard someone say that there's really, no matter if you really truly are brothers in Christ, you could span 10 years not seeing one another, and as soon as you see each other, you rejoice and embrace, and you just pick right back up where you left off. But you were talking about the NBA, so I got this hot topic here. What are your thoughts on the Department of Justice coming out and coming after this whole gambling thing going on in the NBA? That's a big deal.
Well, you know, I didn't think much about it, the whole gambling thing, right? But Supercross, I can't remember who they have, what entity is the gambling body, whatever you call that. But in order to get my license last year, you know, we have to get our yearly annual passes and stuff. But I had to go through this like 30-minute education about gaming. And basically, I can't bet on anything. The rules are like very tricky. So I wasn't surprised when I saw it, because I guess I can see how the lines could get blurred easily if you're on the inside, but still maybe have some connections on the outside. But it's interesting. It's a whole, like, that whole side of things is a little bit scary to me. Like the gambling thing. One, what it does, just people who can't stop themselves sometimes. But two, what that does to sport, because like as you're seeing, like there can be some inside stuff that goes sideways pretty quick.
And the fact that some of like the Gambinos and some of these crime families that are being thrown in this,
naming,
I mean,
I sort of thought they were gone.
That's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Getting into racketeering and I mean,
well, I mean,
there's a couple of them aren't just worried about getting caught; they're worried about staying alive now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they'll end up in
because if they talk like
brick shoes in the bottom of the Hudson type of deal.
Well, think about who might be involved. I mean, what big name is going to come? Like the names that are out there are big, but they're not LeBron James big. Wink, wink.
It's funny because the first few days it was like, you know, on Instagram there's so many like AI tagline things, you know, and you're like, whatever, you know. And then like it comes out on the bigger sources. And then the stuff just keeps happening.
Well, then Stephen A., who's got probably largely the biggest crowd on sports, he's talking about it. Pretty quickly after, going, guys, they're not done. This is just getting started. But what's weird to me, and I don't know, I'd love to get your opinion on this, how hard, because for this to work, you have to throw a game. You have to purposely throw a game as a player. And as an athlete, that has to just destroy the insides of you or maybe you're sold into it so much you're like, I don't care as long as the purse is big enough or the money bag's big enough. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think with the prop betting, it gets a little more gray, you know, like
what is that? I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So prop betting is, you know, how many times will LeBron lean down and tie his shoes?
Oh, so, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So prop betting is actually maybe one of the bigger parts of the betting world because it's you know, it's fun, right? Like you can have a laugh and so I mean that gets a little more gray because you know, I'm pretty sure it's pretty easy for LeBron to go, hey, I'm going to tie my shoes 3 times in the third quarter, you know, put $5 million on that or whatever, you know. So that, I mean, then that gets a lot harder to kind of, there's no rules, right? Like it's kind of like, you know, this may be a little bit off topic, but the Surons, I don't know if you've seen Surons, the electric bikes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're like electric dirt bikes,
Right.
but they're everywhere right now. Like if you go to LA or go like even downtown OKC, they're like on the sidewalks, on the street. There's no rules for them. And so how do you really like officiate that? How do you regulate that? So it's kind of the prop betting, I think, is what makes it real tricky. But and I can see how that would be really hard from the inside. You know, if you're somewhat involved, like the lines get really blurry.
Well, it's a slippery slope, right? I mean, like if you're willing to do that, then are you willing to throw a game? Are you willing to? And I can't help but think about this. And I was thinking about this last night when I was going through it. There was the game with OKC Thunder when the first three were there. You know, Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, and it was against Golden State. And KD was just knocking down threes the whole series long, just wild, just like he just had to throw it up there. And then the game winner, or would have been won the series, he somehow forgot how to hit a three. He also happened to be hanging out the night before with Steph Curry, eating dinner. And then all of a sudden he goes to Golden State the next year.
Yeah.
Now, my thinking is, okay, it's a mental thing. Probably could easily have just got glitched up in the mind and missed a stroke and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm thinking, why wouldn't you win one for OKC, all right, and then go to Golden State, win another one? But so if that's the case, however, I can't in my mind think you as an athlete sitting on the starting line going, yeah, I'm gonna let Dungy win this one. You know, like I'm just gonna let him win this one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see how that happens unless the money is big enough, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think the younger competitors, I don't know, like that scenario maybe, but I think, you know, KD in 12, you know, whatever, when they lost to Miami. I think the younger competitors, guys like Shea and like, I guess all of our OKC team right now, they're such hungry competitors.
Yeah.
Like the money hasn't like set in yet, you know, it hasn't like convoluted everything yet. But I mean, dude, some of those guys been in the NBA for 15 years. Like it's got to start to get a little bit you know, kind of bland, I guess, you know. And for us as competitors, maybe when that gets boring, maybe the money gets exciting, you know. Maybe you find a new challenge, but I don't know. It's a crazy world. Like it's kind of like when you open those gates.
Yeah.
It's a little bit nerve-wracking as to what else comes in, you know.
And I think even now more so, and you're spot on with the prop betting. Like it's a lot easier for an individual to either miss or hit on a prop bet themselves and it not necessarily affect the outcome of the game.
Yep.
Right? You're not actually having to go out and throw an entire game. But it can be something as simple as, you know what, I'm supposed to catch 4 passes today in a football game, and it's easy for me for one to go through my hands or something like that, and to stay either the over or under. And for the younger generation, the prop bet like that is the thing to hit on. Like for the college kids and everything like that to get into the betting world and, you know, try to make a little extra money and stuff like that. I know with my 2 boys, we've had conversations where they'll have like a trifecta or something to where there's 3 different, and it's on 3 different players that have to reach 3 different goals or whatever it is. But that, I think it makes it easier, and I think that's where it actually starts down the slippery slope.
Yeah.
That if they can see success on as a athlete, if they can see success on that, and I think even more so now because of where college athletics is going and the betting, there's so much money now because of NIL and all that side of it that you're even starting to see more on the college athletes on prop bets and different things like that sneak in. And make no mistake about it, our society is money driven, or we wouldn't be where we're at with college athletics, right?
Yep.
And so whether it's that type of sport or whether it's motocross or whether it's anything else, you know, it can be something that's, you know, all you have to do is lead X amount of laps, and you can hit a prop bet.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just opened up so much and made it so easy for both the athletes and for those that are putting bets and stuff out.
It's so casual too, you know, like, you know, when it was illegal, you got to be pretty committed to to doing it. Now it's like, you go on an app and you don't even touch your money, you just kind of push a button and it's just easy, and it's become entertainment, so I don't know, that's the slippery slope for me because it's fun, especially if you're competitive. I don't know if I should tell this or not, but I took my brother to a casino for his 18th birthday just because it was something he could do. And I'd never really gambled at all, but I was just playing like quarter slots with him. And when I won and the thing ding, 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 I was like, I was freaking out, and I just told my wife, I'm like, hey, take the money because I'm totally that person that would just lose everything in a casino just because I don't know, this stupid machine made the noise. So it's quick adrenaline. Yeah. It's addictive, so I think in American corporations have cashed in on that. Yeah. And it's not they've made it not fair too. And that's the crazy part.
It's a science.
Yeah.
There's a ton of research that goes into, that's what there's no windows in a where you go in and play poker, where you play slots or anything, and the temperature, and I mean everything is a science to keep you in there, to hook you, and to bleed you dry.
Yeah. Well, think about if let's say there's some governing body that says, this is not a good idea, but all of a sudden they say, well, listen, folks aren't watching motocross and supercross like they used to. I don't know if you're going to have the trend is not going for your favor to have a job here. However, what we've seen in college football with the gambling, I think this brings more viewers to what we're doing. Yeah,
I think anytime you have any kind of personal stake in something, you find more interest in it. Sure. I this is probably not a popular thing to say in Oklahoma, but I've never really been a big football fan. My brother played D2 college football. Like that was the most into football I've ever been. I got to know the rules. I got to know the plays, the formations. He doesn't play anymore. I haven't paid attention at all. So there's I think the betting, it gives people, it's kind of like social media, right? Oh, I'm friends with this guy. I've commented this thing and then he liked it, So there's this kind of personal, I'm a part of this that makes it more interesting because there's a personal interest. Yeah.
Satan uses everything though.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The slippery slope is opening the door to the really the God of more. Yeah. I need more. I need more. Yeah. And there's a true God with that. And that's the slippery slope. It's a spiritual thing, right? I mean, it's
the original temptation, right? It's did God really say? That was Satan's thing. Did God really say that you would die when you eat from this? But let me tell you what it will do, it'll open your eyes, so
you'll have so much wisdom.
Yeah. It's going to be so great. And,
it worked out well.
Yeah. We're still working.
Worked out well for us.
Yeah. The strategy works though. I mean, it's funny how the strategy really hasn't changed in all this time.
Oh, no.
And we're still
same playbook.
We're still like, just a bite will do. And that's what, DraftKings and all that does. It's an app. It's like, it looks so much like what my kid can play on my phone, and it's so easy. So that's
train them young, right?
Yeah. Groom them up.
All right. So back to your career, man, I have to ask because I don't really know who all the mentors you had, kind of coming up, and how to get fast on a dirt bike and everything. But from an outside guy looking in, I'm watching kind of all your YouTube that I could find, any article I could find on you. And the one guy that kept standing out to say, that's probably why Trey's where he's at, is, man, this guy, every time I saw him, he was unorthodox, but how would you be where you're at without Ronnie Mack in your life?
Oh, gosh.
That guy would hold a beer in one hand, screw on the throttle in the other. He didn't have the best form, but I'm not sure if you would have been where you're at without him.
Oh man, that guy gave me more stress. He would film these videos and this bike. I mean, I can't even tell you about this bike. Like, he bought it on Craigslist, didn't look at it, started it, held it wide open, didn't warm it up, and went straight to a supercross track. It's like, I'm just waiting for the ambulance to pull up the road half the time, but it's wild. I mean, it's crazy what it's, man, how many years have this been going
Legendary.
on? Like 10, 12 years. He's still.
There's sightings of him, right, today? Like,
Oh, yeah,
like no one really knows where he, does he,
He's still doing events. I mean, he just still
Golly.
shows up and, yeah, crazy.
well, on a serious note, though, who was some of the guys that you could go back to and learn? I mean, because back then there wasn't a lot of like, you couldn't go online, you couldn't go look at a YouTube or a TikTok or whatever. And so here's how you're gonna, increase your corner speed or whatever. So who was that in your life early on?
Yeah, there's several guys. I mean, I think it always starts with your dad. That's like in any sports, you're always gonna see a dad helping you throw the football first, and then it kind of moves to a coach. So I think my dad first, but I tell people, I just did a podcast with Robbie Reynard.
And that goose, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
So he was at his peak in his career when I was a kid. So, and then I'd see him at like the local practice track here in Oklahoma. So, he was on several videos in that time. There VHS. One was called Terra Firma, and I mean, as soon as I got home from school, I just like popped that thing in the VHS and just like glued to the screen.
That was Robbie. You were watching Robbie.
Robbie and a bunch of other pros. So the whole VHS, like, you wait for magazines to come in the mail. That's where we learned then. That was our social media, like I remember, seeing Robbie or someone do something on Terra Firma, and then you'd like hit the rewind button and then you'd play. And then it's like, if you had a cool VHS, you could actually do slow motion, so that was our Instagram. I think there's a reason you're seeing the elevation happen so quick now is because there is so much access. So you don't have to like hunt down a VHS and rewind it. And there's a painful process involved with that whole side of it. But the VHS was also one of the things that really like helped me elevate as a writer. But yeah, several people. I mean, there's a guy named Shannon Nide who was one of my early coaches. Probably I was 9, 10 years old, and that just taught me incredible fundamentals.
Would he come to Enid, or would you meet him somewhere?
Yeah, just wherever, wherever he kind of plug in. He'd be in Oklahoma. I would go stay with him for a week or two, that kind of thing.
Oh, where did he live at the time?
He was in Texas, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So we'd go to Texas. Sometimes in the winter, it's like 10 degrees warmer in Texas,
Sure.
So on a school break or whatever, that's what I'd go do. And that, I mean, it always changes. I think you never really, as an athlete, you hear a lot of like, oh, I got here on my own. Like, probably not. there's so many people along the way that do influence that. And then I think, when my dad passed away, I had a youth minister that really poured into me that I think helped me in my faith 100%, helped me through this hard time, but it also kind of like leaked into my writing as well.
From a mental
Point of view. But and then as I became professional, there was other people. I had a really great strength and conditioning coach, Greg Dorenzo, and then guys like Timmy Ferry, who kind of later on in my career. Robbie was a big part of that.
I mean, most of your stuff today is at Robbie's park, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have my own personal training facility, so when I'm riding, I'm in Oklahoma. I'm at Reynard's, so. Yeah, and he's just an extraordinary person. So, and I think that's what I appreciate about all the people I've worked with. They've all been incredible people.
So, and you lost your dad at an early age. We'll get into that a little bit, but talk to us about your dad and like his writing skill. I've never heard. I don't know if it's out there. I just haven't seen it. Tell me about his writing skill and following him on the track and everything.
Yeah, it's like it's bad.
So you broke up bad habits from your dad?
Yeah, like my brother, my brother obviously was a coached by my dad longer, and he established more of those bad habits, But
your older brother,
my
right?
older brother, yeah. I think one of the things that my dad really gave me though was a bit of a fearlessness, I know there's something about a dad that can look at you and go like, "Hey, you got this," and then you kind of go like, "Yeah, I got this," even though you probably don't got this. So I think he gave me a lot of that, which is cool, which I hope to kind of give to my kids.
I know. I got a question about that.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I think more than anything, like what a great parent can do, and I'm trying to get my son involved in several different things. Like I've taken him bouldering or rock climbing right now, just because he's climbing on everything. So I'm like, why don't we just learn to do it and be safe? But I find myself at the gym going, hey, do this and do that. And I'm like, I've never been on that wall. I don't know why I'm sitting here. I'm probably giving terrible advice, but that's great coaching, I think. Like even the parent that's just there and going like, hey, why don't you just try this? And that was my dad. He took us to the track, said, hey, I think you can jump this, just try this, and I think that's how, as a parent, if you're going to stick with the sport with your kid, I think that's how you get better, because you're going to learn through trial and error. But yeah, I think that was definitely my dad, you got to kind of get from the first point to the next point.
Well, that really is huge. I mean, we kind of joke about it, but the men now that are risk takers, that we need to lead from the front and everything else. If you go back and look, that is probably one of the things, I try to push that on to my boys. I'm like, hey, and I never do that, but if that's what you want to do, you can do it. Go do it.
Yeah.
Go whatever it is. And my son decided on a whim that he wanted to start riding bulls and broncs. And I'm like, I don't know how smart a decision that is, but man, if you want to go do it, go do it. Now, mom didn't agree with it.
Yeah.
Right. She's got a different viewpoint, but I think as dads, that is one thing that we can pour into our young men that nobody else can do.
Yeah.
There's not anybody else that has the voice or the encouragement that a dad can give to a son or daughter.
Yeah.
And I think that's we had off the the podcast this morning. We had a conversation about as men, what are we called to do, both as husbands, fathers, as followers of Christ, and that is a big thing. I mean, the fact that the reason, I mean, you're where you were and had the career you had because of what your dad did, of simply saying, yeah, you got this, kid.
You got this. Yeah.
You got this.
Yeah.
Go do it.
I think a lot of us forget that, and I think a lot of us have a crisis of confidence and deal with a lot of anxiety because we haven't had that consistent voice in our lives that says, hey, you can do this. You got this.
That's how important a dad is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's so funny how the enemy, I'm going to put this on the enemy, this word or phrase, toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Toxic masculinity? That's who we are. We're supposed to be, we could be soft as doves, but man, we need to be cunning as vipers as well. And if it's time to go, we're gonna protect our family, and that's all there is to it. You know, if that's toxic masculinity, then go ahead and put that label on me. But they try to contort that into something negative.
Yeah, and I've I mean, the thing about parenting, I wish that you could parent like you get a practice or trial run, because like one thing I'm like learning is like, dude, I wish I didn't have to like use my kids as an experiment, like I'm learning through, books and other people and things, but really it's through a lot of trial and error, but I think, in the beginning I was trying to be like really, kind of soft, I guess. My mom, really pushed me hard, was kind of hard on me. And so I like try to go the opposite way of that. But I realized how much value is in that. You know, there's so much value in that. So I've kind of shifted maybe the last year or so. So one, because I just realized that I can't really give the kind of comfort to my kids that my wife can.
Yes.
Like there's something about her that they know that she has, a kind of nurturing. And also there's things that I can do that she can't, they will pester her all day long and she'll say, no, don't do that. But when dad gets home and I say, hey, no, there's a different tone there that they recognize. And so I'm trying to learn where my place is with that. But one of the things that I'm recognizing that I do and I can give them is this kind of resilience to say, hey, even if you fall, even if you get banged up, like you can do this, you know? And so I'm trying to learn how to use that voice. And I think it's so important.
It is
in development for us. And I think, some people can confuse masculinity with lifting a lot of weights or, drinking protein or,
Or
like
bare knuckle fighting in the backyard.
Yeah. But, I mean, masculinity really is just I think from a Christian perspective, a Christian worldview is this sort of, humble, but full of courage.
Yeah.
There's a kind of, walk quietly, carry a big stick kind of the idea. So,
Saw a T-shirt this last weekend. It said "Saved, not soft."
yeah.
I like that.
Saved, not soft.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
yeah.
try me. Right?
Right.
Try me.
Yeah, I see a big problem. I'm honestly, this is one of the things I'm like a little bit passionate about because it's been hard for me. I raced for my whole life, but professionally, 10 seasons. So 10 years. And
You're almost 10 years retired as you were 10 years in this in professional racing. Isn't that weird how fast it goes?
Yeah. Yeah. But when I stopped racing full time, I went to, started being able to go to service every Sunday. That wasn't really a part of my consistent routine just because I was traveling Friday, racing Saturday, traveling Sunday. We'd try to catch a service Sunday night or whatever. But, I see, and this isn't like disrespectful to people that I saw, but I saw a lot of men who were following the rules. They weren't being very masculine,
Yep.
and I think we can kind of confuse being saved or following Christ as like, I've just like tame, like
Timid, passive.
kind of, we're just here, we're following the rules, we're on time. We've got our 401k. Like which is all very wise, good things, but we need that edge, we need that, a little bit of that out of that wild in us, that I think God created us with, and I think that points to a lot of leadership. And like I'm saying, like, I think men have that voice that tell people that they can, or have the ability to walk alongside people that gives them the courage or the resilience or whatever they need to do hard things. But
what's interesting about carrying the stick, being soft, all those kind of things, and something you probably didn't get to experience. Your father was taken away at age 12 early, right? And so one of the things I always remember about my dad, love him to death, and thought you start to get, about 17, 18 years old, you're getting pretty sure of yourself. You're actually looking more fit than your pop, maybe, you know?
Yeah, daddy's got the belly.
Yeah, dad's got the belly. He comes home from work, sits in the chair, and watches some TV or whatever. I'll never forget it. I came home from school. I was in the bathroom, had zits all over my face. After wrestling practice, I was all mad or whatever. Mom comes in, and she hated it if I just closed the door. Or slammed the door. So she comes in there and she opens the door, and the medicine cabinet, if you remember, like you had the medicine cabinet and it would hit the door.
Yeah.
And I had it open, it went bing like this, right? And Mom just, why didn't you tell me that was closed? And I to this day, I wasn't going to hit her. I wasn't going to do anything. And I just went like this, looking in the mirror. I just, and I was so angry, just feel it, but I wasn't going to hurt. Was that. And she goes, "Oh, you're big enough. You're going to hit me now, are you?" I'm not kidding. Within a blink of an eye, she's out of the doorway. My dad is standing there from the living room. He heard this from the living room, standing in there going, "You ready? You want to fight somebody? Start with me, pal." And I went, "Oh, man, hey,
we're cool."
Like, I didn't even know what I just saw. I'm like, this is not Pop. This is somebody different. If you lose that as a dad, and you probably didn't get to see that side of your pop, don't shy away from it, man, because they're going to try you. Augie's going to try you one day, and it's like, and it may be mild. It may not be like that, but I've heard that story over and over from other, I would call them real dads, real men.
Oh, both my boys, so they're both college athletes, and they've always they'll come a day, Dad. Well, we're going to take you.
We're coming for you.
And kind of jokingly, but then there's a little bit of it that's like, but at that point, Dad I don't play nice.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, Dad bites, man.
Grab bites.
And
gouges.
And so it was, and again, it was kind of joking, but my oldest is like, he looks at his younger brother and says, "I think we can take him." And
so it's 2-on-1.
So Hayden comes in, And dude, we're in the middle of the floor, and it's not. I mean, but it's getting kind of heated. I mean, at this point, he's stronger than what I think that he is, and so I'm resorting to, okay, I'm not losing this fight. So there's some gouging and some punching and some other stuff that I normally wouldn't have done, and I get him kind of wound up, and Hayden looks up at Duncan and says, "Hey, jump in now, jump down." Duncan's like, "Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I got
I'm
a
good."
sprained
And
ankle.
And so there will come a day that, I don't know if it's going to be just by words that I'm like, okay, yeah, you can probably take me, or if we're actually going to end up balled up out in the yard. But
I think it probably like the boys eventually get to know, like, yeah,
there's a maturity.
I could whip dad's butt right
Yeah.
now, but I'm not going to do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Like, it's more like
Unspoken agreement. Hey,
yeah, the brain's fully developed now.
Yeah.
They're not really like wanting
Yeah.
to, like, they understand that what their power is. but-
Amy's worried to death. She's like, that you're going to get hurt one day. They're going to be okay because they're young and pliable. You don't bend the way that you used to.
This is going to cost you a week in traction.
Yeah. But it is fun to watch them grow up. And like I had, Amy and I had that conversation. I was like, I want them to try me. I would much rather them try me and understand that, hey, just because somebody doesn't look like that they can take you, or they're older or whatever, you still have to be careful. But there's a certain respect that comes along between a father and a son when things like that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I want that.
Yeah.
I want
But
that.
I think the important part of it is like, if that's the relationship every day, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think along with that, respect comes, and that's what I really want to see in my son. And sometimes I struggle with, like, and I think that's just common for his age range and that. But, I want him to hear my voice and understand it, and kind of not be compliant. Like, that's one of the things I don't want to train out of him. Like, I want him to have a resiliency and like a courage and a fire in him, but I also want him to understand authority and kind of go like, okay, I need to find my place here. But I don't know. I think about it like you're going down the interstate and there's, on the sides, there's these ditches, and I want to be the guardrails, that can keep him from going in the ditches, while he's still learning to drive his little 4-year-old body. So, and hopefully as he's, 12, 15, 18, 20 into a man, like he doesn't need those guardrails. He's developed the skills to stay in the middle of the road.
It's okay to let him go in the ditch every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this analogy. I don't know why I came up with it. Probably, I feel like as dads, we're winding our kids up for 18 years, like a little like thing, and you're winding them up, and then you just let them go, and you hope to goodness they don't go in the ditch.
Yeah.
And you hope that it just tracks the right way, and you've given the right train. Well, I know that you put God, family, country in that order, and that you're going to figure it out. I mean, you are an awesome dad. Yeah. So I have no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm enjoying it, and I'm just trying to be engaged. That's the hardest part for me, and I'm tired. I've been gone and
hurt, injury,
hurt,
still.
And, I'm still hurting in a lot of different places, but I'm just trying to be there.
That's awesome. Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back on the second part.
Cool. Hey, this is Trey Canard. You can find me on YouTube at Trey Canard Official, Instagram, Trey Canard, TikTok, Trey Canard, all the things, Trey Canard. Just had a great time on the Scars and Stripes podcast. Check it out.
Welcome back to the second part of the Scars podcast with my buddy Trey Canard. So I'm going to take you back to a night. Maybe you've thought about it in a while. Maybe you haven't. But for me and my kids, it was an awesome night. It's October 2018, and we get to go to Las Vegas to see our guy go take on the Monster Energy Cup, the $1 million winner take all, but you got to win all 3 heats. It's the most wild thing we've ever seen, and our buddy Trey Canard was on rails that night. Bro, we were like, there was nobody in your class. It was like you had the B class, and you were the only one in the A class out there.
Yeah.
That's how far ahead you were. Tell us about that. Now, I want to get it from your
That was
perspective.
just one of those days where, I mean, you hear athletes talk about a flow state. It was just happening, man. I don't know. There was several races in my career where you're like, what's wrong with these other guys? You know? Like, did everyone have I don't know, stomach flu last night or something? You know, I can't even explain it. You know, I try to recreate that. I mean, that's an athlete. You're constantly trying to recreate that same environment, but it's just for whatever reason doesn't always happen. And that was just one of those days, you know. And I remember winning the first two, and I wasn't even really worried about the third one. And maybe I should have been more worried about it because the rider in front of me hit a tough block. If you don't know what that is, it's a foam block that kind of it creates a barrier for the track. And
Davey Millsap, if I remember.
yeah, kind of kicked it out right in front of me, and down I went. Yeah, I think about that a lot.
So, Brett, like to kind of recreate it. So we're sitting in the stands. It's in Las Vegas. It's the University of Las Vegas, their stadium there, and it's the weirdest race. They created this thing to just kind of be just a spectacle or whatever. But it was really cool. It was very competitive. Not all the racers came out there, but there was some top level guys out there, and they had a suitcase full of $1 million in cash. You had to win all 3 races. It would have a split start. It would have a joker lane. So you had to remember, you had to take the joker lane one time throughout the race.
Okay.
And so a lot of guys would go out there and they would be winning, but they'd forget the joker lane. So they didn't win that round. So Trey's going, and we can see it's coming out this tunnel. They had to go through the tunnel, and that had to be fifth gear pin.
It was fast. Yeah.
I mean, they had to be doing 80. I don't know.
Our Jeep, we don't go that. The perception is like fast, just because it's like when you're driving in construction.
Yeah.
You know, and the barrier's right next to you.
Yeah.
It feels like you're going 100. You
Yeah.
know, and that's kind of the same thing with our sport. We don't get much over 50, 60 miles an hour, but it looks fast.
That straight was fast. Let me
Yeah.
just tell you. And so we're watching the first 2 heats or races, and he gets the whole shot, never looks back. I'm telling you, Davey Millsap, I think, was even his closest competitor that night, and he wasn't touching him. Third race comes out, he doesn't get the whole shot, and I'm like, if I remember this right, doesn't get the whole shot.
No, if you got 3 whole shots, you get a free Tundra too. So Jason Anderson, who's another athlete, lined up next to me, and he's like, "You ain't getting that truck."
Did he say that to you?
He didn't say it, but his actions, you know,
Yeah.
like
Spoke
I mean, he
Yeah.
ruined both of our start just to make sure I didn't get the truck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, that kind of started me off bad. But I still found my way into second, and I was like, "Oh man!" Okay,
In the first lap, I think.
yeah, I was riding really good for whatever reason that night, and yeah, I remember my mechanic. He wrote on the pit board, "Hey, enjoy it." And I was like, "I'm enjoying it," you know, too much because I didn't give myself enough space. But
Well,
yeah.
what I was thinking was like, all right, Trey, you got this. I mean, you're so much faster than everybody tonight. Just relax.
Yeah.
You're in second. You got 10 laps, I think.
Yeah.
You're going to get this, man. You're going to get him in a corner, whatever. He's coming through the tunnel, like slow motion. You see the tough block. Oh, no. And then you clip it on your pedal, like your...
yeah, my fork lug, I think, got it, and it just kind of twisted the front. Yeah.
And it's like, that's it. So I come to him and like, again, this is one of those weird, like, oh, there's that Panera guy again,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, great.
And-
It's my stalker.
And I go, Trey, man, I hate that. You were so close. And I'm like, dude, what would you have done if you would have had the $1 million? And I believed you when you said it. You go, I don't really know. I probably would have given it away to charity.
Yeah.
And I believed you.
Yeah.
I think you really would have.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
probably would have got a Tundra.
I definitely would have gotten a new truck. But yeah, I don't know. I was living in Shawnee at the time, and there was a homelessness problem there. And the city was kind of against doing any kind of shelter just because they didn't want to attract more homelessness there. That was an interesting topic I could probably talk about for a minute, but I kind of gotten in touch with the city rescue mission here in OKC, the model that they had, and was working with the Shawnee rescue mission, and we're going to try to like do this program where there was like kind of Section 8 housing, and it was, so yeah, I think it probably would have maybe went towards something like that, but I'm kind of glad it didn't happen because I wasn't prepared for that. Like I definitely wasn't.
Oh,
know.
you mean the notoriety you would have gotten, or what do you mean you weren't ready for it?
It's a very complicated issue, homelessness, and so I think at that time I was like, oh, we just I just could just do the shelter thing and it kind of fix everything. But yeah, the more I've been involved with that, the more I see how
it's a layered issue.
It's a
ton of dynamics that play into all of it.
Many dynamics. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it didn't happen because I think I probably would have stressed myself all the way out, and it probably would have. Then I would have been really tied to something, and I needed to learn a lot more about it before I jumped into something like that.
Yeah, you were in the middle of your career at that time. Go ahead.
So I want to ask a question. So do you feel, and kind of going off kind of something that you kind of hinted about right there, that do you feel like that you let your guard down in that third race, and that's possibly what cost it? And the reason, like as he's sitting here telling that, I'm like, that is such a great life analogy that when we start, when we're hitting the groove, right? The bike's set up right. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do in life. We're doing everything we're supposed to do. And we kind of start fading away from God, and we get comfortable. And that's when Satan will throw that freaking block out there in front of us, right?
Yeah.
And so that was as we're sitting here, as you're saying that, I'm like, so do you feel like that it was your responsibility to say, hey, look, I can be comfortable with this, but I got to back off. I got to pray a little more. I got to, right?
Yeah, I think what racing really taught me is there's this really fine line of that you're constantly trying to balance of preparedness, confidence, engagement. And I think it's the same in life. You have these same kind of elements that you're trying to put together, and it's just kind of difficult to get it all orchestrated, right? And one of the reasons I retired from racing was I started thinking a lot. I remember being at the last race that I raced, and I was just thinking so much. And it's like being in that traffic, construction area. It's like everything starts happening, and you go from a response to a reaction. It's like you go from anticipating to kind of freezing. So
instinctive.
You go from being instinctive to reactionary, and so and I think life is very similar, especially our walk with Christ. It's like the moment that you're not trying to engage, and I don't know if be on the offense is the right way to say it, but I think it has to do with intentionality. The moment that kind of goes away, it's very easy to veer and get reactionary, or quit being aware of your environment. So
I don't mean to kind of take this over, but so there's a little bit of that, and I've been told that I use this word incorrectly, but to me, like listening to you talk, that there was some complacency that started setting in, right? And like with my line of work, that's one of the things you can't allow to let in. You can't let complacency, because that'll end up getting you killed, right? And it's so in life, if we're complacent with something, then we're not working to improve it or to make it better. I'm complacent. I'm okay with everything that I have, right? With my house, my car. I mean, I drive a 93 Toyota Camry. I don't care what I drive.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that. But what I'm not okay with was my relationship with God, my relationship with my wife, right? And those things we have to be intentional, not become complacent, and work towards those.
Yep.
And kind of listen to you talk, with your careers, that everything sounds like it came very natural to you. Not that there was not a whole lot of hard work and endless hours of a day put in, but that at a certain point you kind of get complacent, and that's when it gets dangerous. Look, I can remember, I don't know how you guys do it. I can remember growing up, and we were pretty pumped when we had the Honda 110 3-wheeler with the big fat tires, and we'd get 2 foot off the ground on a jump.
All you got to say is 3-wheeler to scare me.
Hey, dude, let me tell you, there's a reason that you don't see any of those things around anymore. My first, anyway, but I would think that in your line of work that you did, that if you start, especially in a competitive format, that if you start getting complacent and start overthinking things, that could be extremely dangerous.
Yeah, and I think another way to kind of tie it to our faith is there's a lot of work in front of that night. That race was
Yeah.
a visible moment for people, but people don't typically see the hours and hours and hours of time leading into that. So I think with our faith it's kind of the same. People see a byproduct of what the Lord's doing in our life, but oftentimes it's our engagement that allows the Lord to work in us. And so, yeah, I think I kind of lost focus in that moment. I kind of was like, oh, I got this. How I could have changed that, I think I've gone like, okay, this thing isn't over till it's over. I need to stay engaged. And so I guess tying that to our faith is like, there's got to be the work on the front that even gets you to the point of being able to walk. But there's also this kind of staying engaged point in our walk that, this sounds kind of strange, but the big moments of grace in my life have been the most, I don't want to say the most, but really high up there when it comes to closeness with the Lord. Because there's a certain moment that you go, I don't deserve this grace. That you go, wow, Lord, you are so good. But there's times, when everything's kind of rocking and rolling and you're just kind of like doing your thing, that you kind of like, wow, did I pray today? It's like there's a kind of you go from relying on him to kind of going like, we're on autopilot here, everything's good. So I don't know. I think there's probably things we can be intentional about that. I like that you drive an older car. I'd say that my truck's older. It's a 2013, but I'm like, a challenge to myself is I want to try to drive this truck for 20 years because I see myself. It's so easy to go like to want the next best thing, but to me, my truck is a challenge to go like, it's getting a little rough around the edges. It's, I had an electrical issue like 2 weeks ago and it's annoying. I had to get it towed to a shop, but there's a certain practice that says, hey, I'm going to try to be like in this, and not get carried away with stuff. And so I mean, that's a stupid example, but I think you're exactly right. You got to find ways to stay intentional and engaged because, I think even neurologically, neurobiologically, there's a certain part of our brain that switches off when we get to that kind of, we'll look at the clouds, it's like, but when we can be engaged and we're firing on all cylinders, it's like, that's the sweet spot. And I think it's why we need a lot of adversity in our lives. Cause, if we don't have that, it's kind of if you look through Israel's history, it's like when they have those moments where they're just on autopilot, most of the time, that's when their trouble happens.
Yeah.
That's true. It's so funny. I've read through the Bible several times front to back, but every time I get into Kings, I just start to go, gosh, you get all the success, everything's going well.
You're hearing audibly from God.
Yes, he's writing on the wall, or he's doing whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like, next king comes in, well, we're going to start putting Asher poles and Bel worship, and we're going to start not praying and all this stuff. And it's like, gosh, like, and then things start to go awry.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's, I don't know, it's the beauty of free will, right? I mean,
yes.
It's such a blessing to have that of making the choice, because you can see how easily when things are good, how much the heart of it all goes away. It's like, I don't know. I guess go back to like maybe a sinful moment in your life where you were like, you just appreciate everything, because you just know how good God is. And I mean, the definition of grace is getting what you don't deserve.
Right.
And it's easy for us, I think, especially in our environment, wealth and those types of things kind of take a little bit of the reliance off of God and more on ourselves. But I think that's why we got to be so intentional about going like, man, this is greater than I could really imagine and more than I deserve 100%.
Well, it's one of the first times in history that we have we had more missionaries coming to America than we had missionaries going out. And a lot of these missionaries were coming from countries that, look at Nigeria right now.
Yeah.
Like, I asked myself, am I going to still follow Jesus when what's happening is, it's awful. I mean, it's incredibly awful. Just beheadings and explosions and burning just because they're Christian.
Yeah.
That's it. That's their only, quote, wrong in life is they're Christians. But like, the missionaries come over and say, we want to go back home. Like, this is they're so lukewarm over here. It's not even worth being here.
Yeah.
And that's sad, but it is almost like we have too much freedom over here.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is to really stand up for the name Jesus Christ. Now, arguably, I think it's Charlie Kirk, and we had a stark reminder, right? I think that's the only reason that he was martyred, was because of how much he did stand up for his faith. But anyway, I could go on and on about that piece of it. But I want to know, because I know you as this likable, just approachable guy, obviously. But I've never, the one thing as a spectator you never get to see is, what does it look like in your helmet on the starting line? And I remember asking the question, and it's almost like, if I recall how you said, it's like, that person I almost don't like.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a certain selfishness about being an athlete, and that was one thing I really wrestled with as an athlete, because and maybe it's self-focused, not selfishness. I don't know, and how to differentiate that, and I should probably put more work into that to help the next generation of Christian athletes. But for me, it was always a wrestle, because there's always these decisions that are focused on you, like, oh, sorry, I can't do that. I've got to do this. It is really easy to justify that. So, yeah. So I guess that's probably where I was coming from when I said sometimes I don't like that guy, because there's everything comes second, basically.
I mean, basically, it sounded like if you had to, you'd kick Bambi in the face to win.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. It's just stupid. Just a dumb deer, right? That wimpy deer.
Yeah.
No,
Get stronger. It's your fault.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably the best analogy I'd ever heard about this topic was a friend of mine named Phil. He was I was talking to him about this, and he said it's almost like competitiveness is its own realm. You're in this realm, and one of our great commands is to love our neighbor as ourselves. And he said, so if you're a neighbor in that realm, how do you want to be loved? And I remember going, well, I don't know, winning's pretty sweet. And he's like, well, I've imagined if someone let you win, you wouldn't like it very much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a great point. Like, I think being a great neighbor is being a great competitor. So yeah, I really wrestled with that in my career, because there's a certain selfishness about being an athlete in general, just achieving excellence. And you almost got to be a little bit crazy.
Well, how would you go out there not thinking? It'd be like if you're a pilot. I want my pilot, if I'm getting on that plane, to think I'm the best pilot in the world. Like, there's nobody better than me. God alone. Other than that, I'm the best pilot. I'm the best surgeon. Okay.
Yep.
So when you get that on that bike, people can't, if you've never been on a bike, you can't appreciate how much adrenaline's pumping. I would still argue that you guys are probably the best tuned athletes in terms of like physicality.
Yep.
If you don't have, and I've heard you say, you almost have to go no mind, almost like it's all like the speeds you carry, the closeness you carry, like the split second decisions. I mean, a rut of dirt off of the face of a jump could cross you up.
Yep.
And it's over. Like, you're going to hit the ground. Gravity is going to say, I'm not your friend anymore.
Yep.
But when you were on two wheels, fine, you can land. Okay, you got cute.
Yep.
Wait till you don't have those two wheels.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's tough. I mean, it's, I think the best way to say it is if you don't know what that's like, I'd say just, run as hard as you can for 15 minutes, allow your heart rate to get like pumping in your head, and then like play chess or something. Yeah. It's like, it's that kind of combination is you've got to have this physicality that's really hard, but also you've got to make all these like intricate decisions like in split seconds. So yeah, that's the best way to explain it, I think, as far as how just your normal person might, understand it. And then throw fear in there. I mean, because it's a scary thing, because the consequences. And so then, trying to keep, not go fight or flight, stay prefrontal cortex, make wise decisions. That's the hard part of it. And that's what kind of separates the best from the rest, is being able to engage.
That is a great point, Trey. That is tremendous. Ty and I were talking about this, how the connection between, I call the lower brain, or they call the reptilian brain, which is the fight or flight, and the prefrontal cortex is that's great. The highest level players are going to have to somehow get those things to communicate in the absolute most stressful situation that you possibly can be. Now, there's probably times on the track that maybe when you're in the air, you take a breath, but otherwise, man, it's fight or flight the whole time, and you're trying to tease those things out to where you don't crash.
Yeah. There's a calmness that you have to be able to grasp, that allows you to stay in those more rational parts of your brain, but also not stay too engaged in those parts of your brain. So it's
because you don't go fast enough.
You don't go fast enough. Yeah. So it's a very fine dance that you play.
Who was, if you have to name somebody, I have one in mind, that every time you came to the track, you're like, I just can't stand seeing this guy. I know he's going to do something. Can you even name the person? They're probably.
I mean, Justin Barsha for sure. I mean, we were teammates, and man, it was
bam, bam.
If I saw him on the track, if I started next to him, I was just like, how do I avoid this? I mean, you didn't even have to be battling for a win or a top 5. You could be in 20th, and he'd smash you. So.
You could be in dead last, and if he's going to get 19 and you're 20, then he's going to do it.
Yeah, you're dead. So, JB was definitely that guy.
The one guy that sticks out in my mind is Vince Freese.
Yeah, Vince gets a bad rap for sure.
But I think he's a nice. Like I asked you about, you're like, he's actually a nice guy. He just gets in some bad situations.
Yeah, I mean, there's no prefrontal cortex involved in that. You see. From when we're watching athletics, NBA, we talked about the NBA for a minute. You see this guy and you're like, why can't you make free throws? You're a professional.
Come on, Shaq.
I guess just go run suicides for the 45 minutes he's been running, and then disengage your prefrontal cortex and see how good you are at free throws. So it's hard, and it's easy to call out these people, but some people are like, you're paid to do this, you can get together.
Are there any in the pits as a competitor? Are there any friends in the pits? Do you talk to anybody? Do you even talk to your own teammates?
When I was racing, no. Like, it was like you didn't really hang out with anybody.
Even the guys that were on your team that you would test with during the week.
Some guys would get close with their teammates. Most guys, no. It's different now.
What was it then that they?
I don't know. It was just the culture. I mean, I'd say. 70s was like your
Brock Glover, Hannah.
Gnarly, we eat nails and spit rust kind of guy.
Well, they didn't have any suspension, so they kind of weren't kidding.
Yeah, they weren't going that fast either. So that's that generation. The 80s was kind of Flash, we're those guys, but we also, RJ, we're the Bad Boys Club, like all the 80s gear, the fluorescence and all the shows started kind of coming in. And then the 90s was just the straight party scene. It was like Flash, McGrath was just, there was this new kind of recognition of the sport, which brought money, which brought all the other stuff. And then 2000s, that's when Ricky really changed the game as far as physicality. He beat everyone because he was good, because he was really fit. And so it really changed the landscape as far as what the expectations were, which in a good way, I think really drove the professionalism. You saw a lot less of that kind of personality. I'm going to smash you over there. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It was more like, you heard a lot. I guess the motocross videos, the VHSs I was watching went a lot less from like some guy jumping crazy jumps in the hills and doing tricks and having fun
on any Sunday, man.
to more, you know, lap times and pit boards and road bikes and gym sessions. You know, it became more serious.
Do you think that there's, and I think regardless of the sport, I mean, you look back on whether it's professional or college football, baseball, basketball, motocross, it seems to me like during that time, and it was almost, it seems like it was generational, where that competitiveness just went to a different level. And it wasn't necessarily me against them as much as just me against me. And I've got to be the best guy to do it, whatever it takes, right? And you go back and you look at, like, I don't feel like that you see that anymore. And I think that goes back to being the good old boys in the pits and all that stuff. And, you know, we're okay with each other, that there was just a competitiveness in the individual. And you go back and, like, Michael Jordan, like, there was nobody as freaking competitive as that guy.
Yeah, a lot of his teammates didn't like him.
And his teammates didn't like him, but he didn't care because he wanted to be the best, right? And that goes right along with kind of your time. It's like, we wanted to be the best. I'm not here to be friends. Right? I'm here to ride motocross. I'm here to finish in front of you. And I'm going to do that by doing everything that I need to do, whether it's weight room, whether it's track time, whether it's whatever, to do that. And I feel like generationally that we've kind of gotten to where I hate using the word soft, but it's kind of soft as far as the competitive stuff is now.
Yeah. It's, I was in that perfect mix of kind of common sense training, and then also science started to really kind of come into play. So when I say common sense training, I mean, like, that guy did 20 push-ups, well, I'm going to do 22, you know? So there's kind of like this, if I just do more than him, I'm going to be better. And so that brought out some competitiveness. And then the science started to roll in, and you kind of go like, oh, well, you know, if we just structure it this way, so that the science was coming in a way that everything started to get really structured. So there was a seriousness. So the competitiveness and the seriousness really kind of like peaked at my time. Now I think the two influences is the science has gotten really a lot better. And so you're able to kind of go like, oh, we were way overdoing it then as far as the physical training. So it's pulled back a little bit. So guys have more time, they're resting more. It's not so engaging that way. You know, you're not always like in the gym, you're not always riding. Like they're off days. Like, it's an off day.
Your body needs that.
Yeah. Your body apparently needs rest. I guess so. So that, and then I think social media, like, you know, I kind of missed it in my racing career, but I'm kind of evolved into that kind of post racing. If you're not engaged social media, like, you're not really much value to a lot of these companies. And so, and part of what that is like making yourself a little bit vulnerable on your posts and things, because no one likes to see a, you know, commercialized post where someone's like, drink Pepsi, you know, it's like, this is my morning routine to know I like Pepsi, you know, that's kind of what you have to be. And so I think it's humanized the competitor in a way that you're like, oh, this guy's not that bad. Kind of funny, you know, maybe we should hang out on our off days. So I don't know if that was a long-winded way of explaining, I think, the shift, but I think that's kind of what's happened.
Well, I think what's interesting though is, like, you would think that, all right, well, if we're friends in the pits, then I've got to have a competitive advantage. But I think you would argue to say that, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but the speeds have gotten faster. It's not like but the technology's gotten better.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, along with social media, along with getting to know people, there's this understanding. You know, I always kind of looked at like, hey, that guy's trying to beat me. He's trying to take my money, you know? It's like, but now there's more of a community aspect to where it's like, I still want to beat that guy and I don't like that guy, but I also want him to succeed for his kids that I hung out with this week. You know, there's a kind of understanding of like, hey, we're all in this together in a sense a little bit. The older guys less. I mean, Tomac's for sure the guy, you know, he's lower 30s and he's still part of kind of the last of my generation. That's like, nah, I'll go to my farm in Colorado and
disappear,
you know, eat beef, and you know, I'm not going to post on social media, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
You brought up the name Michael Jordan. The sidebar question. I just want to get your thoughts on this. What you guys think? So, what's Michael Jordan worth? About $1 billion, something like that.
Who knows?
He earned it.
Probably,
I mean,
lots of
right?
money.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
So he's now doing this interview, and they're going to drip it out. And they started the first night, opening night with the Thunder on his interview. And he's talking about, I just feel like that I want to give back to the community. That's why I'm doing this interview. It's in his house. This guy's, and I'm thinking, I know a little bit about social media. They shot that in one day.
Yeah.
And they're going to drip it out. Do you know what he's getting paid for that giving back to the community?
There's no telling.
I looked it up. That we were at Bible study this morning. We're all just kind of laughing about it. $40 million.
That's insane. Yeah.
For an interviewer that came to his house but he did tell a funny story. Did you hear the funny story?
I haven't heard it, no.
So he's talking about he asked him, when's the last time you picked up a basketball? He goes, oh God, I don't know. He goes, I can tell you this, there was 10 years after my retirement that I never touched a basketball. And he said, I went to the Ryder Cup to watch golf. And the guy, I don't know, he said the guy that ran Ryder Cup's house, he said, you can rent my house if you want. So he did. And then he brought his kids over, and the guy talked him into shooting a free throw because they had a half court or maybe a full court. And he said that was the most nervous he had ever been at the free throw line, because he's like, I can't miss for this kid that thinks I'm this, legendary giant that I was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's just funny. But I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Like, yeah, give him back. Yeah, give me my 40 mil.
Yeah. It's a little bit jaded, swayed in a way.
Yeah.
That's what I don't love about the social media side of things is, I mean, it's, I've done a couple podcasts recently, and the kind of clickbait that they put up is a little bit, it's true, but it's also not in context. And so it's that's what I don't like about it, right? Because there's a story being told, but it's really about everything is so monetized that the story that you tell in order to stay competitive has got to be a little bit saucy, And
Well,
so,
I mean, you're exactly right, and I almost feel bad for them. But like, you could be saying, the whole story is, man, I don't like going to strip clubs because that's not the right thing to do. That's not honoring to my marriage or honoring to God.
I've never stepped foot in a strip club, and I don't like going to strip clubs. But the
clip's
clip
gonna
is,
be,
I don't like going to strip clubs. Yeah. And the tagline is, Canard has a problem with strip clubs.
He had maybe an addiction. He didn't want to talk. Whatever.
We just got our footage.
That's right. We're it. That's it. And I'm telling you, that would get clicks. Right?
Yeah, it would.
And I've learned
That's the
that.
sad
I've got
part.
my own YouTube. I've almost had it for 2 years, and it's like the stuff. It's like that goes. You're like, what? You put like a big production together, and it's like 500 views. You get one that's like controversial.
What you did with your phone?
Yeah,
or
and
something.
and that's the one that blows up. So it's, I guess what I'm saying is that's what I don't like about it, because now you've created a fabrication of what reality really is. I mean, the reality is MJ doesn't want to be left alone, or he wants to be left alone. But 40 million, yeah, he'll give back to the community. And so it's kind of strange. And then you throw AI in the mix, and then things get even a little more weird.
It's so funny you say that, because I can just imagine going, and there's a story on AI I was going to touch on, I heard this morning. But anyway, I'm just thinking to myself, Mr. Jordan, do you think you could do this deal? I really don't have time. I'd love to do that. What about 10 million? Let me check my calendar. What about 20? Things are freeing up right now. What about 40? Sold.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's
there.
maybe the conversation. I don't even
See you in the morning.
Yeah, or the agent deals with it, and then they get to a number.
That's right.
I ain't doing it unless it's this number, and then hey, would you like to come to my house at 8? Yeah.
Well, I heard this story this morning. AI is getting scary. I mean, I would just say this in terms of, I thought about the crucifixion, or the all falsifications when Jesus Christ is, being accused, and he's in the temple, and they're trying to get him the death sentence. Basically, everything they did on that day was, almost everything was illegal. Everything. It was a falsification, all this kind of stuff. And now, the enemy's always trying to intervene and falsify those that walk righteously. And I just heard a story this morning on a guy his name's Robbie Starbuck. and he's an interesting guy, but he's going after DEI, and so he'll go after like, I don't know, one of them I think was like Walmart and what they were doing, or John Deere and their commercials, and pulling this thing out, and then they acquiesce. They say, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. We're getting rid of it. Well, the Google AI chatbot was fabricating stories about how he was a rapist and all, and literally to the point where they're like, well, what's the stories? Well, here's your MSNBC, here's your Fox, here's your da-da-da-da. And it was a headline, and they're like, oh, well, that's real. If you clicked on it, it would actually come up with the starting line. And then if you said, well, what's more about it? It would fabricate a story. I believe that he's telling the truth, that obviously didn't happen, but AI has a bias in it that's creating a story and a narrative against somebody that obviously wants diversity, equity, and inclusion to keep going in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary.
Yeah.
He's actually suing them right now. He's suing Google right now. It's
Yeah.
like his lawsuit just landed yesterday, I think.
I like what AI is doing when I see videos roll across my phone and it's like a 600-pound man on like a high wire. Keep that.
Yeah.
Keep that part. I think there's parts about productivity that are really great.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I can, if I'm working on a talk or something, or trying to organize my thoughts, it's nice to just talk into it. And then I get home, maybe I'm on my drive home and it has some great points from what I was saying. But it's scary as far as the images scare me.
Oh, gosh.
You start creating these images that are real, and then
Very real.
reality starts to get difficult to discern.
You're gonna start seeing more of it as a Christian on the persecution side.
Yeah.
I mean, I firmly believe that this is the tool
Yes.
that Satan's going to use on persecution of being a Christian.
Yeah.
And I think maybe seeing just a little bit of it right now, but I think in the next 2 to 5 years, I think that will become a massive tool for that.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to dig.
Yeah, and it blurs the lines between reality.
Yep.
And the places that we do dig are so biased so many times that
Yep.
it's going to just create its own bias. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's like the internet, right? Like there's so much darkness on the internet. There's so much evil. There's also so much good.
Yeah.
How much can we as believers? I mean, that's the again, back to the garden narrative. God creates this good thing, and then Satan comes and he doesn't make something new. He just
he can't create anything. That's why he's so angry.
He just distorts what's there.
He's the great deceiver.
Yeah. So I think we can use this for good in some way. If we learn to, I guess I should say we should learn to use it. We should learn to
it ain't
get
going away.
engaged, because I think it can be really weaponized. So if we as believers are going like, no, I don't want to touch that because it's it's dark and that, I think that's maybe not the right answer. I don't think we want to rely on it. I don't think we want to trust it completely. I do think we want to try to engage the topic, because
That's a good point.
it's what we're going to be
It's
dealing
not going.
with.
It's not going anywhere. It's not going away.
What scares me is like it gets better from people using it, right? And so how many people are? I mean, I talk to people. They're basically letting ChatGPT do their jobs. So I mean, it's the level to which it's going to get better. Like if we're not staying on pace with that a little bit as believers, like I think that's a mistake.
Well, I think you got to, like Jesus said, gird your loins, be ready, be discerning. So this is an interesting topic, and I don't know if you even want to touch on this one, because you're an unashamed follower of Jesus Christ, bar none. And you continue that, and that work throughout your career. It works to this day still in everything that you do. But what do you think happens when I'm going to pick on a couple of people here, Katy Perry or Taylor Swift? You see them start out, and they're really sort of like, I think Katy Perry start out in church. She was in gospel at one point, and it wasn't really going anywhere. And then somebody said, hey, you know what? We could probably do something different and make your career more successful. But even then, it was very light feeling. And then all of a sudden in the career, it goes really dark.
Yeah.
Like, let's face it, Taylor Swift, some of her shows look demonic to me.
Yeah.
I don't see it as much in athletes, because I don't think they have the entertainment style, but they probably could if they would. I mean, what do you think happens? Like, is it spiritual? Is it, or is it just entertaining? Is it, what happens? You know, you always get that, like, I sold my soul to the devil and I got real popular.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think it's a, you know, it's an accumulation of experiences, you know. I'm not an expert on this, but I think from my own life, I love that I've stayed in Oklahoma the whole time, because it always brought me back. You know, there's something about simplicity. You know, I'm gonna drop this verse, but make every effort to live a simple life and work with your hands. You know, there's this kind of simplicity that is holy. You know, when you start making money, things get complicated quick. You know, you have access to things you didn't have access to before, and so you're in different environments, and it's a lot of fun. And I think, especially in the art side of things, you know, art has gotten so strange. You know, I think before the picture, the photograph, you know, you saw a lot of landscapes, you saw a lot of things that people couldn't see.
You mean like on a record album, or
Well, just art in general. When you think about before the photograph, if you wanted to see, you know, say it's the summertime and you just, man, I just want to be in the mountains and see foliage.
Yeah.
You had to like draw that and paint it and make it look beautiful. And then the photograph comes, and then it's kind of like, you know, I could see that easy, you know? So what happens to the art? The art becomes more distorted. You see more of this abstract, you know, kind of, well, I don't know what it is, but that's kind of the allure of it. You know, I got to kind of figure it out. And this, this speaks to me differently than it does to that person. And then now we've had to distort art so much that unless it's a little bit out there and crazy, it's kind of like just another thing. You know, we see so much on our phones now that it's got to just be wild for us to pay attention to it. And so
for you to stop for a second.
Yeah. So I think this is one piece to this, maybe not so spiritual, but I think one side of that is like what sells is what's crazy. And so you've got to just continue to elevate this. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, this is a totally different rabbit hole, but the topic of pornography, you know, like in the beginning of pornography, it's this pretty simple thing. And now it's like, as it's evolved and people's tastes have gotten diluted, it's, you know, it's crazy. You know, you hear about the things that people are doing, and it's like, that's not natural.
Yeah.
But it's because we've become diluted to it. And so I think the same thing with art, like it almost has to go so far before anyone pays attention to it. Connected to that, though, I think is when Satan goes, I can work with this. You know, like the lines between what's reality, the lines between what's good are really blurred. And so I know what appeals to the human heart, what makes it go like, oh, I can be my own king. I can be my own master. I can be my own darkness. Ooh, darkness is kind of fun. I think Satan uses all of that to really, and then once you're so far down the road, you look back at that simplicity as like, oh, these people are uneducated. They're dumb. They're, you know, it's kind of,
you're enlightened.
I know all things. I'm like God now.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm enlightened.
There's so many topics. I mean, you kind of brought up like the music industry, but there's so many topics that we could go down this road, this path. But we use the analogy with what it is we're doing on addiction on the bowling frog, right? So you've heard the analogy of the bowling frog. If you throw a frog into boiling water, it's going to jump out. But if you put that frog in room temperature water, right, it's going to swim around in there, and then you turn the fire on. Well, as the water heats up, the frog's body adjusts to it, and before you know it, it's boiled itself to death.
Yep.
Well, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's all these other things, I feel like that's what Satan does.
Yeah.
There's just a little bit in there, right? You talked about it kind of, and I think edgy, right? Everything has to be edgy, and every whether it be singer or whatever, you got to push it just a little bit more. And all that is just turning the fire up underneath us, you know, as we're swimming around in that lukewarm water until it's just accepted. And This is just what it is, and this is how we live, and this is what we're supposed to listen to. This is what we're supposed to do. And next thing you know, man, Satan's got a stronghold on us. And it's just normal. This is, it's okay.
Well,
right?
and everybody thinks, well, the devil comes in with a pitchfork and, red tail, did you ever, I mean, I don't even think you can answer this, but get approached with an awkward, like, hey, Trey, if you do this promo, then, man, I think you're going to we'll get you some success. I mean, did you ever, I guess, be tempted, or was your your presence in God so strong that they just didn't ask you that?
I think a couple things. I'd like to say I'm like, oh, this just really strong believer. Not the case. I mean, I think I always came from a place of insecurity, it being that, when I did well, like I mentioned earlier, it was always like, what's wrong with the other guys today? It was never like I was the man today, so I was always very insecure in that I didn't really think I was the guy. I didn't think I really deserved any kind of situation. So I think that did a couple things. One, I didn't really put myself out there very much because I was timid and insecure and that type of thing. And then also it helped me keep my nose to the grindstone because I was like, that guy's better than me. I just got to keep grinding. So that's part of it. But I think also I lived out my faith from day one in the sport. And so there was a sort of expectation of who I was. That it was like...
You mean by the people around you? Like, hey, don't mess with him.
Yeah, hey, oh, that's not Trey's thing. And I appreciate that because it just got easier, It just got easier to live out my faith because by the time I'd kind of made a name for myself in the sport, it was so associated with my faith that there was no real temptation.
Yeah. I would argue that you literally changed the sport. Now, if you remember when I'm an avid rider. I take time off, but I'm an avid rider today. But I remember it was like, you had Brock Glover, Jeff Ward, Bob Hanna, all those guys going around hay bales, on these kind of tame jumps today, would be today. But then all of a sudden there was this ushering in of the Crusty Demons videos and this bad boy attitude. And it was getting dark. I mean, I know you said McGrath. I wouldn't put him in there, but it's sort of, there was these kind of like off, kind of like, but all of a sudden you come on the scene. Now, Ricky was certainly setting the table for, hey, you better be physically fit. And but oddly enough, I think his mom was heavily involved in that. I think your mom was heavily involved, obviously, in what you were doing.
Yep.
But you changed the fabric of the sport. It started to not be cool to be that bad boy guy anymore. It was like, did I read it wrong? I don't want to inflate you and look what you did. Yeah. Look what you did, Trey. Like, I'm not putting you on a pedestal like that, but I am saying because of your walk, it sort of changed the sport, or it felt like it.
Yeah, I think I came into the sport at a great time. I mean, like the Lord timed that perfectly. There's a man named Steve Hudson that came in, I think in '97, and started. He was a pastor at a church and was like, it was a Sunday and he was in Charlotte. He was like, what are those people doing at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Sunday? I want to go there, see what they need. Somehow find his way into motocross. And so he became the chaplain. And so I think about 97 to 2007, whenever I come on the scene, that's a big foundation. I mean, a lot of riders sticking around for chapel. So I guess to say there's people that I probably rode on their foundation, that kind of allowed me to be who I was in the sport.
It like gave you courage, or
gave me courage. I think opened some people up, because Steve was such a good people person. Like his ministry was just being there. When I broke my back, he was the first guy in the ambulance. And I remember, wow, it's the first thing I remember. I remember going like, "Why, Steve?" And he said, "I don't know, bro." And there's something like so comforting about him just being there and saying, "Hey, I don't have the answers here." And that's the kind of guy Steve was. And so I think people like Steve, and there's several people in the sport that I think I just came into it perfectly, and it allowed me to be who I was, and for that to become acceptable, and even another generation wanting to choose that. So, I think there's just a lot, and I owe my family and my mom, everyone that gave me that foundation. I think about, when I was a kid, racing on Sundays, at some point in the day, we were like, all right, it's time to worship, So we'd like just pile into a truck or a motorhome or, spend some time in the Word.
Who led that?
My dad. And then
Yeah.
when my dad passed away, it was like my mom held the torch. She just kept it strong. But as a kid, I'm like playing with my friends. I'm at the races. I don't want to do that, And it wasn't like, what you see today as far as, cool FCA chapel, it was like we're in our motorhome, like singing hymns. It's like,
The weirdos are over there.
Weirdos, yeah. But don't come in here. My mom's like,
They
hey,
give you a free
wanna
haircut.
Come do our little church service. Don't
The cultists are over
don't
there.
do it. Don't do it. But there was something in that go, hey, this is foundational. Like we can't sway from that.
Yeah.
That I so much appreciate because it laid the foundation for me being able to be in that environment and not sway, So it definitely was my mom's faith at that point, my dad's faith, but it became personal as I got older.
Yeah.
Impact of parents.
Yep.
What do you feel like? What do you feel like today? I mean, you still have your fingerprints on things, but not like you did then. So, do you see that thread still happening? I mean, I would say FCA is getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You're now with another organization. You help out like Panic Rev, I think. And there's another one that you've started. Or
Yeah, there's several. And I've kind of, my position's like, I don't really want to be glued to one. I'd love to be able to plug in anywhere. And
you're like the Apostle Paul.
Going
around
that's the church, right? I feel like that's what the church should be. I feel like we've probably divided ourselves more than we've been one. How many times do you hear the word? And John 17. My prayer is that they would be one, as you and I are one.
Yeah.
And so, that's my goal. I don't want to be Trey FCA Trey. I want to be a follower of Jesus Trey. That
Ooh,
anywhere in the
that's
name of
awesome.
Jesus is like, and it's really the name of Jesus. That's where I want to be. So, I think it's one of the things I say when I go to these types of camps is when I was a kid I had to choose. I either went to church camp or I rode my motorcycle, and so the fact that kids don't have to make that choice anymore is pretty cool. And so I hope that continues. I would say our sport hasn't been as affected as some of these bigger ball sports that are heavily tied to DEI and things like that. Arts. I think SX did a like a pride post and it just got obliterated and they took it down or something. So I think that allows for Christianity to it's a nice place for it as far as we're not being totally overrun by a different agenda. So that's good. And then also the danger aspect of it, like a lot of people don't pray to God until they need him.
There's no atheists in the foxhole. There's no atheists when they're 60 foot in the air.
Exactly. Break your femur a couple times and you'll have to sit there with yourself. So I think that there's a good mix for our faith to thrive.
All right, I'm going to zing you with this one. Go ahead. Did you have something?
No.
I want to zing you with this one because I always laugh about it because now I'm like, I don't know if it's true or not, but Monster Energy, the primary sponsor, 666 upside down. It's it's whatever, and I'm thinking, man, it's going to be taken over. Is it true, Trey Canard? Is it really that way? Is it? Is the energy drink a dark drink?
I don't know. I mean, part of Satan's biggest tool is more about subtlety. It's about weaving in where. I guess my focus has been more about the, what's the person doing that's been going to the same church service for 30 years, but they haven't really had a heart change.
Ooh,
I think
who's more dangerous or what?
What's more dangerous, really? I mean, like the monster. I mean, it's definitely a part of his tools, but it's like, that's pretty in your face kind of thing. Where I think he works better in subtly. That's what he did in the garden.
Yeah,
it's like,
hey, slithered up.
Hey, what's up? I have to keep going back to the garden, but
it's a good starting point.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing's changed since then, really, other than Christ is on the scene. But yeah, I mean, I definitely shied away from it. I mean, I had an opportunity to ride for Cowie a couple times, and that was definitely part of my decision to not go there. Was I didn't really want to be associated with monster girls who were
That's what I like. That's probably the only kid only friendly thing that there's there.
Yep. So, so yeah, I mean, I definitely there's a contrast in darkness and light that you can see, but I think probably the subtle kind of messages are been what I worry about most.
Yeah. Another question on that. I always wondered this because I think they're poison. The energy drinks are just poison. And they go, you do the post, win, trophy deal. That isn't that water in there? Is that really water? Is it actually energy drink?
Yeah, they make them specifically with water, but I was a muscle milk guy. For a long time,
that's right.
And they wanted us to drink muscle milk, and I'm telling you, whenever it's 97 degrees outside,
you're at Texas. That one place at Texas was so flipping hot.
The heat index is 112, and that thing hasn't been in an ice chest the whole time being racing.
That makes my stomach turn thinking about it right now.
It's like, just put water in there.
What about, so everybody has, like, I see this a lot. I know it probably drives you crazy. The dad that's living vicariously, and you see him on the side of the track and they're doing this, come on, let's go. I'm like, dude, you wouldn't do this. Like, you're asking your kid, and you you had that for a while, and then your mom was stewarding that. What did you see? Like, your mom is such a calm lady and like grounded. What was she like on the track for you when you sort of needed maybe a motivation?
Yeah, I guess first off, I've learned that that's not the moto dad. That's the kid dad. I remember, my brother's 10 years younger than me. So, when my dad passed away, I not that I took that role, but I definitely wanted him to feel the presence of someone that had his back, So I went to every game that I could. And I had to sit like on the other side of the field because I could not handle the parents yelling. Like, it just, so that moment I'm go like, oh wow, this isn't a motocross thing. This is a parent thing. I don't know. It's a sweet mix because you definitely need your parents pushing you. Part of my son August, he really likes his bicycle and he wants to jump. His big thing is he wants to get his back wheel off the ground. That's like his goal, because he can kind of pop the front up and go off ramps. But he's always like, hey, did I get my back wheel off the ground? So I'm helping him achieve that, and he's had a couple crashes. And part of my responsibility is like, hey, you did this wrong. If you want to do it again, this is how you're going to do it. I think you should go try it again. So there's a certain aspect that you need from a parent that goes, you got this, you can do this. You're more than what you see, like, keep pushing. But there's some psychological issues with a lot of parents as far as.
I remember you saying something like your mom, which just cracked me up because I could see her. I don't know her that well, but I could see her just saying it. Like, you'd come off the practice track or on one of your heaters to try to get a good lap, get a good gate pick or whatever, and she'd just say, what are you, a wuss today or something? Or like, can't you screw it on a little bit more? Like,
yeah, she was, and part of it is, if you're a competitive parent, like, you need to know that about yourself and just know when to pull back. Cause, my mom was competitive, but I would say later in my career, she did an amazing job at just letting me be me and let the people around me kind of shape me. But I think that's the job of a parent. You shape, you mold, you help them focus to one day send them on their own, and there's some parents, the Lawrence brothers, their dad, Darren, is incredible. Like, he's definitely done that, but he's still involved in a really healthy way. Mm-hmm. John Tomac, same thing.
Yeah.
But I've seen other dads that they're emotionally tied to the result, not emotionally tied to the well-being of their kid.
Yeah. I would say Mike, because Mike, what was his name? Ali, Alessi. Yeah. I felt like his dad was like, man, he was always involved. Like, at some point, you got to let your coaches coach.
Yeah.
Whoever that is.
Yeah. Or you've got, and I think this is where Darren Lawrence does it really well. It was like, hey, I've got the interest of my boys here, but hey, this is your job. How can I help?
Yeah.
Where the dad that's like, you guys are idiots. I know what it's doing. I know my kid, that kind of thing. That's where it gets kind of messy. And even at the kid level, what I love about college sports is the parents, at some point you just go, okay, we'll see you in 4 years.
Yeah.
Where my sport, it's like you turn pro. I was 16 in my first professional race. I can't rent a car. I can't really even cash a check. Like you have to have your parents. So it gets really, really tricky.
Yeah. There's so many parents, I feel like, that they either the success or their kid being unsuccessful, they feel like is a reflection on who they are as parents.
100%.
Right. And I think that's where it goes. That's where it goes sideways.
Your last name is a key.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in parenting too, when a kid acts bad and the parent loses their marbles because the kid's acting bad.
Yeah.
It's like they think it's a reflection of themselves, where
It's just a kid being a kid.
and that's the perfect moment to go grab your kid and try to like steer him, you know.
Sure.
Where, you know, if you lose it and you kind of, you know, go off the rails on your kid, that's probably not what that kid needs at that point, but it's because you've attached your worth so much to them that, you know, you kind of lose it. And then what am I? I'm a dad of a 4-year-old, so I shouldn't speak as though I know these things, but that's been my experience with what I've seen in the sport.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's take one more quick break, and then we'll come on and finish it on the other side. All right, welcome back to the third and final segment of the Scars podcast with Trey Canard. Trey, you definitely, your career got shut off short with injuries and things, and like, I don't know what happened, but man, it was just like you would like break your back. Someone would land on you, and you'd have to go get, you know, 4-level fusion in your thoracic spine and nearly not walk away, come back and race faster than you ever raced. Then you would break your femur in the same place 2 times in a row, I think on the same track. I think it was Washougal.
Yep.
And in any of those times, did you ever just go like, God, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to take a break. Like, I'm sort of tired of this. I thought you were for me, not against me. So what's going on? How did that affect your faith?
It was huge, man. I you know, if you're familiar with faith, you know, when Israel becomes Israel, the person Israel becomes Israel, the night before you see this messenger of God wrestling with them all night.
Jacob, yeah.
So I love that because, you know, Jacob leaves with a new name and he leaves with a limp. And so he's been changed. Like, God used that adversity to form him into someone who was ready to be the father of a nation. And then also he had this stark reminder, like, remember that night that I had that match. And I try to look at adversity like that, you know, I think what builds strong faith is wrestling. And we I think in the church really don't do well with conversations about doubt. You know, someone's doubting, we kind of like, you can see it in someone's eyes. Like,
it's a scary topic,
it's
right?
like, so who made God? And you can almost see like this, where's the theology? Read this book, you know, watch this video. But sitting with that is so valuable, man. It is so valuable. I think if we could lean into that more, it would grow our faith. And I mean, that's certainly, I think it can go 2 ways for sure. And that's probably what God would rather, you know? You know, it's the point in Jesus' ministry where he turns around to the big crowd and says, hey, if you want to follow me, drink my blood and eat my flesh. And most of the people leave. But the people that stuck around go like, what's that mean? You know? And so I think the injuries did that for me. It was like, in the beginning of my faith, you know, it was very like, if I do good, God will bless me, you know, and that's this kind of like transaction that we have. And then you like do good and then you get hurt. And then you kind of go like, well, what was that about, God? You know, like, and then you get hurt again and then you get hurt again. I mean, in 2011, I broke my femur twice. And then I broke my collarbone. And in the beginning of 2012, I broke my back. It was like this 8 months of just like boom, 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 boom. And that time in my life, God used so much.
That's when you met Hannah.
That's when I met Hannah. Yeah. When I broke my back, I had 10 to 12 months off. So I wanted to go on this trip that I'd never been able to just because I was busy. And so I went. She was on it. And perfect time to meet my wife. I mean, She didn't know anything about motocross. She kept asking me like, "What do you do for a job?" I told her ride bikes, and then she'd be like, "Okay, so what do you do for a job?" And then so I mean, there was no question about, is she with me because I make good money or because I'm a name? It was like she was with me because she knew me, and that was really special. But my whole point of that is to say, like, God has used adversity in such a special way in my life that I think people see my career and they kind of go like, well, you could have done this and you could have done that. And I really think I could have been a premier class champion had I not had to deal with what I dealt with. But I don't think I'd be half the human I am. You know, I don't think I would know the Lord like I know the Lord. Not that I know him any better than anybody else, but I certainly know him better than I did when I started racing. So I don't know. I think this is probably too philosophical. I can't even say the word right now. But our world, our society, Western society is so focused on avoiding pain. You know, what do you do when you take a headache? You take Tylenol. You know, what do you do whenever you've got a severe injury? You get on a painkiller. It's like we avoid pain at all costs. But I think if we leaned into it a little more, we'd see the value in how God uses that. I mean, if you look at most great efforts, you know, there's this. I'll pause that thought for this. There's this 41-day Bible study that goes around, and people send me all the time because my number is 41.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is about, 40-day was a time of testing, or 40 was a time of testing. And there's this newer Bible study that's like day 41 is, can you imagine day 41? Like day 41 was like this day of hope. But I say that to say, like, anything really like meaningful God sent through 40 years, 40 days, whatever that was. And so it's this time of like refinement that God uses to shape us. In James, it talks about being refined by fire. Gold is refined by fire and it's pure. I think we try to avoid that at all costs. It's something I've learned, and I don't like it, but something I've learned in my life is there's been so much value in my pain. And I think that's a good lesson to learn, because there's going to be pain. Like, stick around on earth for 2 weeks and something's going to suck. But when you can see it through that lens, you can see it seems less meaningless and less pointless and less irritating, because you can kind of go like, God can use this, But so yeah, I don't know. It was hard. I 100%. There were times in my life where I was like, what in the world? If you kind of look at it from a work standpoint, I'm like, that dude's cheating on his wife. That dude's doing this. That dude's doing that.
If you're keeping score,
which I think God, we are not keeping score, because none of us can add up. But if you're keeping score, I should have been 5-time world supercross champion.
Well, this is why I love doing this, because we get to hear other people's perspectives and stuff, and and I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and I don't think there's a time that we do this when God's not in this room, and I come into it with just letting the Spirit say, hey, let me take something out of it. But if you sit and think about it, when we become a Christian, the only way that God can build our faith in Him is through fire.
Yeah,
is through trials and stuff. Now, we don't look at it that way, but sitting and listening to you, I mean, that's what that for me, and maybe that's very basic, but like that's almost a revelation to me that, you know what, it's not that He puts it on us, but when it comes to us, man, if we'll just lean into Him, He's going to show you how graceful He is and what He can truly do. And that's really how we build on our relationship with God, is through those tough times. Because if it was always good, we wouldn't have near as strong a relationship as we should.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that. That seems very simplistic as I say it out loud, but man, it really is. Regardless of what that trial is, whether it's physical, whether it's mental and emotional, whatever, man, if we'll just lean into it, all that does is strengthen our relationship with God, which is what we should always be doing.
It's been a valuable lesson in my life. and I, talk about traumas. I've been through a lot of traumas. But it's easy to look at that and just run for the hills, but I don't know. I really turned a corner with it all when I was like, man, God has used this. Like, I don't know. And it's hard because our physical bodies just like, we're protective, we were all about survival. We're wired for survival. So it's very anti-body, very anti-human to want to embrace any kind of difficulty. But I mean, you hear the analogy all the time. What do you do when you lift weights? You tear down so you can build up. And it's the same concept, right? It's like you've got to break yourself down to build yourself up, and not that you do that intentionally, but I mean, we lost that privilege of not having adversity in the garden. And so God's not certainly going to be the one to cause it, but if you can allow him to use it, like he will use it.
You made me think of the 41 days, and the 40 days you're being tested through trials. You're building yourself in your faith, and it made me think about what it must be like to be a guy like you. What was the day like when the phone stopped ringing?
Yeah, I remember when I retired, there was about 2 weeks where it was like just crazy. Hey, congratulations, great career, da 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 da. Like just got blown up, And it was like, it kind of relates to when I lost my dad too. There's like 2 weeks where you get flowers and food and stuff, and then there's this radio silence, and that's what I felt after my career. Was like all your relationships, all your friendships that you built for the last 20 years just seemed to kind of halt. And that was one of my bigger adversities. I'd tied so much of my worth to this. I'd always said things like my identity's in Christ and all these types of things. But until that's really taken from you, or you choose to take a different direction, I mean, I'm sure you see it a lot in combat and police work and firefighting. It's like once you lose that brotherhood and that kind of mission, and it's that hard stop can almost be more traumatic than the things you've been through during the time. So that was hard, man.
Were you surprised how fast it stopped ringing?
Yeah, it was instant. I mean, it was, and my life had been so busy from the time I was 9, 10 years old until the time I was nearly 30 that it was like, it seemed so slow. I remember I just craved the time when I could just be home for weeks and weeks and weeks. Like, just sounded fun. Like, oh, you could get in a rhythm and you can do all these things. And then I remember being home for 3 weeks going, I got to get out of this place. It just seemed like I was watching paint dry, because I was just, the monotony of doing the same thing until I like started to see some value in it was really hard to do. But I'm sure, you probably have this conversation a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities in there. And there's a couple of things, as you built a life from a very young age of going fast and living on the edge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And going into retirement or stepping away from whatever it is you do, whether it be from something like motocross or from us being a first responder, in your mind, you tell yourself that not a whole lot's going to change.
Yeah.
And so you're setting yourself up for failure right there. And if anybody's getting ready to go through that, that's what I would tell them. Look, it's going to change.
Yeah.
And all those people, it's not that they don't care about you, but they're still in that world, right? You're not a part of that world anymore.
Yeah.
Someday it might come back around when they decide to retire, and you can look at each other and say, yeah, man, that sucked. So tell me how you got through it, type of deal.
Yep.
But it is that mental turmoil of stepping away from something like that has been your life. And even as hard as we talk about that, right? Not allowing the job to identify who we are.
Yeah.
It's so hard to separate from that, right?
Yep.
And that's one thing. I did a podcast here a couple of weeks ago, and one of the last questions he asked was, what's something that you'd go back and tell your 23-year-old self getting into law enforcement? And I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? I said, I would tell myself to make sure that my relationship with Christ is where it needed to be, right? Because whether during my career or when I stepped away, that would have been what I could have leaned back on
Yeah.
and fell into
Yeah.
my true father's arms.
Yep.
Right. And I think for a lot of guys, they don't have that when they step away,
Yeah.
and it makes it that much harder, but it is a huge shift.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I grieved in that time was just community. I mean, we'd spent
Yep.
so much time building community away from our home.
Yeah.
I remember even my wife was like, I feel so lonely. We've spent all this time building these relationships and friendships, and now we're in Edmond, Oklahoma. Like, our family's close, but we feel kind of like on an island. So that was hard, and it did come back around for me. I mean, I'm still
Sure.
involved in the community and just in a different way. But when my time comes to be finished with my current role with Honda, I'm already thinking to
Yeah.
that. What am I gonna do to and how am I gonna keep some roots and build some
Yeah.
community here, so that when that time comes again, I'm not just an absolute mess.
Yeah.
What was the discernment? Because I know everything was discerning through the Holy Spirit. You stayed with one manufacturer, save for your probably first couple of years, and the littlest, on Cowie, I think you were, but after that, you got with Geico, and you never looked back. You always stuck with Red. What is about that organization that, man, you just felt at home and that's family?
I don't know. I think part of being a follower is a sense of loyalty, and not kind of chasing greener pastures. And I certainly chased greener pastures, especially at the end. I did a year with KTM, and it was a disaster year.
You did a year with KTM?
Yeah, the very end. Yeah, at the very end, I did I mean, I wouldn't call it a year. It was the year I retired, and I had tore my rotator cuff, broke a collarbone, and had a pretty bad concussion.
That was so limited. I don't even remember you being on it.
I only raced it maybe 6 times.
Was
'cause I
that
hurt.
DaCosta or DaCosta?
DaCosta, yeah. Yep. But there's so much to be said for loyalty and appreciation for the people around you. I think as a believer, that can have a really big impact on the people around you. But also I think Honda fits me well. The culture of Honda, the environment. The company started out on the slogan, "You'll see the nicest people in a Honda."
Huh.
We fit well, and so I think that's why it's worked well for me for so long.
So today, you're still involved. You're on the test track, and you're still working with Honda.
Yeah.
Like some of the coolest things coming out. One of the guys that I've kind of noticed recently come on the scene for you, just watching, is a guy that seems to be pushing you a little bit. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about his training and everything. But Terry Inferno has really been coming on the scene lately. He's buffed up, never wears a shirt.
Yeah.
Guy's always, I don't know, what's the story behind him?
Terry, man, he takes lots of supplements. Really, I mean, he always in injection.
He's always in your ear, isn't
pill
he?
form. No, I mean, part of what I'm doing now and trying to create that transition, right, is building a YouTube social media presence, and I see so much of it that's like, you kind of compromising your own values to get likes, and I'm like, you know what, I want this to be funny. I want it to be informal, and also I want you to be able to get information from it. And part of that funny part was I was on Instagram one day and I saw someone on a snowboard and they just looked jacked. And then I watched the video and I'm like, oh, it's a muscle suit. And I was like, what would it be like to ride in that muscle suit? And that was kind of the beginnings of Terry Inferno.
That's awesome.
I remember you, I was kidding him about this, and I'm thinking it's 100 degrees and he's out doing these videos, and I'm like, bro, are you? How's the hydration?
I can't tell you how hot that thing is. And I'm for sure getting some sort of cancer from it because it's like made in Taiwan somewhere. It like oozes some kind of liquid. But
I mean, does it get regularly washed? I mean, how bad does that thing
that's
stink
where I'm
now?
at.
I put it wrong side out and let it dry usually, but man, that thing is so funny. We did a video. I've got a partnership working together with Rocky Mountain ATVMC. They're building a link for us to where if you go to our YouTube, our sites, you click on the link and you buy your parts through our link. We get a percentage from it. So part of the YouTube video, or I'm not even sure we're going to put it on YouTube. It might just be an Instagram reel or something like that. But I start off and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really into this self-promotion thing. Who do we know that really likes themselves? So I call Terry Inferno on the phone, and he's downtown Edmond in the muscle suit with a cardboard sign that just says "click the link." But it was hilarious being like downtown Edmond.
Yeah.
I went into Evoke, the coffee shop there, and ordered a protein coffee, and it was funny, dude, because like people were like grabbing their kids. And, like, stay away from that man. It looks real. It looks real enough that you're like, this dude's shirtless right now.
Did he have what was Terry? Did he have a muscle shirt on? Or?
Yeah, it was a full muscle suit.
I mean, you got to wear the shirt at least to get in the Evoke.
No, I was just in the muscle suit.
Oh, you were just buffed up.
Yeah,
Okay,
just buffed up. Had my heart rate strap on and the normal kit. Yeah.
Because it's a rumored story out there. I don't know if it's true or not, but Hannah sort of said, "Hey, can you wear that a little bit longer? Come on in the house."
It weirds her out so much. She's like, "We got to get that thing off."
Right.
Yeah.
If you
It
don't
doesn't
know
belong in the house.
I think that's what was so strange about being downtown Edmond is if you just glance at it, it looks real.
It looks
like,
real.
oh man, it's so gross though. That thing is nasty.
It's funny because after I saw it, I think it was Usher at the last Super Bowl or one of the Super Bowls. He's all buffed up and everything, and then they came out with those close-up images, and it looked like he was probably wearing a suit.
Yeah.
I thought that was like,
Good God.
Yeah, I need to make a video of getting in it and out it because it's like it's so difficult. It
task.
takes two people just to.
do you grease it up or what?
Baby powder's the move. Yeah, you put baby
man.
powder on it, and man, that thing is gross.
Well, I'm loving to see where Terry Inferno's going, what he's going to be up to in the next few months or so.
Yeah,
That sounds
as
awesome.
it gets colder, I'll do more. Like,
It's easier to do Terry Inferno then.
Man, doing anything in the heat. I mean, and it weighs probably 30 pounds.
Wow.
So
wow.
it's like the days we're gonna do Terry, we're like, man, we gotta get in and get out because it's hard.
Getting hot. But on a real note here, so you're switching your identity now from competitive racer to literally helping the fastest racers on the track. How hard is that to go, dude? I should be on your freaking bike right now, on the starting line, or are you okay with it? I mean, you're making bikes faster and safer, I would say.
I love it, honestly. My personality type's never really been the guy that likes to get praise and you see some guys, I'd say even some of our current riders, they get on the podium and it's like they get a jolt from it. They like want to amp the crowd up and they're just like they like that.
Oh, the cowboy hat guy.
Yeah, Plessinger, like they love that kind of like it's like an entertainment value for them.
Yeah.
For me, I never really liked it. I was always felt kind of uncomfortable and people were like, "Hey, you're this or that," and I kind of go like, "Oh, like." Can we quit talking about me for a second? And so I really like the role that I'm in because I can do something that I love, but I don't have to get so much of the limelight from it, And I probably get way more credit than a lot of people give me for even my current role, but I really like it. I like using my brain. I've learned so much about engineering and just how a motorcycle works. It's been really fun to like ride it and then talk to these engineers and then like figure out the way to go from here, how to make it better. Really enjoy that. The production side's been fun because it's a lot to make a motorcycle. And so to be a part of that from like the ground floor up has been really cool just to see how it all happens and how it can go so sideways and how it can be good. And when you see the final product, you're like really proud of it and that's exciting. And you see people ride it and they like it and that's been really fun. And then on the competitive side, as I've gotten further removed, I've been less about wanting to be out there. And I just enjoy seeing these athletes do what they do because it's incredible, man. Like, I'm definitely past the point where I'm like, I could do that better. I'm to the point where I'm like, wow, that was incredible. Good job.
So I kind of want to go off that. So I didn't grow up doing motocross. I mean, I had a little dirt bike, but nothing. Again, man, I get 2 foot off the ground. I'm like, oh yeah, that
I jumped my back wheel.
I jumped my back wheel at like 14. Your son's what, 4? So with what you do now, so I watched some of your videos. You rode hard, right? So you're a little up there in age now. Being a test rider, how do you ride now? Do you ride as hard as you used to, or do you pull back do you pull back a little bit? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, there's to do what I do, especially for our race athletes, it's got to be at a certain level,
Yeah.
right? Like for me to go out there and ride at 50%, probably not
Doesn't
gonna get
do
the
a whole
job
lot.
done.
Yeah.
You know, so I've got to replicate what they're doing to some extent. Obviously, I can't do it to their level,
Yeah.
or I should say I won't do it to their level.
And I guess that's kind of my question. It's not
Yeah,
that necessarily maybe the skills aren't there, but at some point it's self-preservation and everything. And if I push it too much, but
exactly. And I've got a family and there's just other things happening. So I try to, not that there's some kind of ratio that I use, but, you know, I try to ride to the point where I can still think, right? Because part of my job is just giving information. And if I'm riding in the flow state so much that I don't even, it's just happening. Like I don't really get great information. So I try to stay just below that to where I can go, okay, at this point in the track, I did this, okay, mental note, you know, and kind of do that through the lap. Now there are some points where I've really got to push it and say, I'll pick a section that it's not working good and maybe I need more information. I'll go, okay, pull up your boots for a second.
Don't be a wuss.
Smash it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, hopefully I survive that. And then I kind of go like, okay, it did this at like 80%. When I really waked it up, it did it really bad. Or when I went up to 90%, it didn't do it as bad. And so that's good information for them to have. And so I'm trying to balance that. It's kind of like risk management, I guess. When I'm practicing at home, I try to push it just because I want to continue to elevate my riding, just because I know to be relevant for our race team, I need to do that.
Sure.
If I'm not practicing and kind of pushing, I won't be valuable to them. I'll still be valuable to the consumer side. That's your general rider's speed, but so I guess I still do push. It's a little more calculated as to when. You know, I'm not required to do it all the time. And then if there's jumps that I don't want to jump, I just don't jump them. You know.
Sure.
You know, if I'm like, I don't feel comfortable in that section, I'll just be slow and be okay with it.
Yeah.
Where do you see the sport, motocross, supercross, in the next 5 years? I mean, the sport is somewhat getting out of reach of a lot of people to go buy a $9,000 bike, $11,000 bike. Where do you see the two-wheel industry going on dirt?
I don't know. It's hard. I think it's going to grow. From a professional standpoint, like your elitists it's gonna continue to elevate.
Do you think it's gonna become a spectator sport, more or less? Like,
I think it'll always have to have the grassroots, because it's so heavily dependent on the manufacturers. As far as, you know, your main racing teams are Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha, you know, KTM. So there's a dependence on sales that's still going to influence it in some way. You know, a company like Honda, it's a legacy project for them, right? Like they're never going to make money on motorcycles, but their DNA is motorcycle, and their DNA, I mean, it was their first product, and their DNA is competition. So they'll always do it, like F1. I mean, they've still been involved with teams long into this F1 thing. They're still signing new contracts to build new F1 engines for teams. And so that part of their DNA will always be there. And unless there's a catastrophic event in the company, I think it's always going to be there. For someone like KTM, who is heavily, heavily dependent on dirt bike sales, that might be harder, because as the price point barrier to entry gets more difficult, your sales will go down, you know, and then to go into endeavors like, you know, MotoGP and things like this that are high dollar sports, that's going to get more difficult. But as it grows, I mean, the trends it's still growing as far as viewership and people following the sport. I think it's going to go more into the F1 type of elite motorsports type of event, especially Supercross, because it's such a spectacle. You know, motocross is more of your enthusiast who wants to go sit in the sun.
You really gotta want to watch it.
I mean, I don't even, at the end of the day of a motocross race, I'm like, let's get out of here. You know, like that was a long day. But your enthusiast who likes to just get totally sunburnt and just
get the ice chest
drink
out,
beer all day, and like your NASCAR fan, you know, they just love it. You know, there's something about baking in the sun and smelling race gas. I think that side will always be there. I think for it to grow, it's got to get more to the F1 side of things. But I think your small bikes are going to keep it probably in business. Honda does their most value in motorcycling through their CRF 50 and their CRF 110, and it's kind of like the bike that's still inexpensive, but you can go have a lot of fun on. You know, the bike you probably rode at your farm was probably like a Trail 70 or
The old XR80.
Trail 90s.
Trail 90, yeah. So that type of motorcycle is still very popular. It's low maintenance.
I think you put water in them and they'll still run.
Yeah.
Man, we had XR50s that we didn't touch. We put gas in them, and they probably didn't have oil. I mean, and we just rode them until they still ran. They just were falling apart, you know. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting the next 10 years. You know, hopefully inflation and all this kind of controls a little bit, but.
Well, if you can talk to anybody at Honda, I really feel like that our generation has missed out on the Honda 110 three-wheelers.
Yeah.
So if you can talk Honda into bringing those back.
The three-wheeler.
I mean,
man, I got
it. They float in the pond. It was awesome.
Those big old air tires.
Big old knobbies.
3 PSI in them or whatever it was.
The ATC three-wheeler makes my job a nightmare because our durability standards are so high. Like the legalities that Honda faced from being sued so much from these three-wheelers.
Oh, yeah.
It makes my development job a living nightmare because it's like there's so many legal hoops to jump through that limit what I can do. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Like through the development process, there's this investigation phase, and then there's all these phases. And if you don't hit the targets in these phases, then the whole thing just stops. And I'm like, why is this? You know, this is really hurting us. And they're like, it's all legality. You know, you've got to be able to trace back all this paperwork because the ATC three-wheelers almost put them out of business.
Now, you at one time, and I don't know where you're at on this, but you really were thinking after racing, you were going to get involved in safety of riding, first of all. So, and I think that's so important. Like how many kids go out there and the dad just goes, I got you a new 50, jump on there and go.
Yeah,
you
run
know,
into a tree.
And run into a mailbox, a tree, whatever. And so you were going to start doing some more classes locally on that, or at least starting that organization. And then you were looking at also the racing side of it. Where is that at right now?
Yeah, I sat on the board for something called the USMCA for about 5 years, and their whole goal was to grow coaching. So when you buy a motorcycle, you scan a QR code, you can go to their website, and it's happening. You know, they're doing it. I've not been involved just because I've gotten so busy on my kind of for-profit side that I just haven't had time. But so you go to usmca.org, or I think it's motorcyclecoaching.org. You can put your area code in, your zip. Get confused in those two. It'll pull up coaches and their skill level. So we created a protocol or a curriculum called First Ride. So all the coaches will be certified in First Ride, which is, you know, a lot of times whenever you're an experienced rider, you say, I don't know, hop on it and go. But, you know, things like how to twist the throttle, you know, where's the brakes? How do you shift it? You know, how do you even get on it? So things like that are I've kind of removed myself, but still very passionate about that. We always made a joke on USMCA board, like everyone's first ride experience was, yeah, my dad brought out a 50 and I ran into a car, you know. It was never like, man, I hopped on it and he taught me all these things and we just had the best day, you know. So we believe that lifelong riders start from good experience. And so, you know, whether that's on a motocross bike or, you know, riding a safe, you know, say you're a Harley Davidson guy, you know, doing that in a safe way. I see so many people riding on the street on a CBR 650 that shouldn't be even riding a motorcycle. So that was part of the passion behind that. I tried to start a rider advocacy in our sport and just hit too many, you know, political boundaries. I think the ripple effect is working. The AMA has engaged that more. They have kind of a rider representative now, and they are working towards some of those goals that I set out. But I think at the end of the day, I wasn't the guy for the job. I'm too agreeable. You know, I work on being disagreeable, you know, so safety is such, you know, in your world, gun safety, you know, like gun safety is you have so many different ideas about what gun safety is. And so all the way from there should be no guns to, you know, I need 27 ARs and all these different things. So So people's idea about motocross safety is the same thing, you know, like you've got the guy who's like, we need to be riding on a flat track. And then you've got the guy like, no, we need, you know, the biggest jumps in the world. So to be the guy in the middle of that, I'm not sure I was the personality to be the guy to guide that. But some of the ideas have still lived. And so hopefully that legacy of those ideas can continue to grow.
Well, that's the one hardest part about that sport, Supercross, is you don't have a team, right? And so if if your offensive lineman goes down, you can fill in with hopefully a pretty decent offense. If you go down, it's like, oh man, I'm not even looking forward to seeing the next Saturday's race because Trey's not going to be there.
Yeah,
you know, he's not going to be back for 8 months or whatever. I hope to see him in the outdoor. So it really hurts the sport, I think, a little bit. But it's how do you avoid it?
I mean, my whole goal was, hey, you know, it's like I think it's the movie Hateful Eight, in the very beginning of the movie. You know, I think it's Samuel L. Jackson. I can't remember who the other actor is. Kurt Russell, maybe.
Yeah.
And he said, "Anybody tell you this job in easy, boy?" or something? He goes, and doesn't have to be that hard either. You know, that was my whole point to the sanctioning body is like, yeah, it's amazing. We love it because it's dangerous, but it doesn't have to be, you know, the unreasonable things don't have to be there. And my whole point was there was no in between the riders and the sanctioning bodies. There's just a lot of, you know, unresolved tension there that I was hoping to be the guy that kind of could bridge that gap. But yeah, I quickly realized I was going to face a lot of headwind. Yeah,
not worth the fight. At that point.
No, and then I got the opportunity to work with Honda, and the promoter actually offered me a job to go do it, but I didn't want to work for them. I felt like that was a conflict of interest. You know, I wanted to be a separate entity that kind of funded itself and would be non-biased. So, you know, when I had the opportunity to do that or go test for Honda, I just went with Honda.
Well, last question, family oriented. So you've got Augie. I've been seeing some videos. I mean, you can already see he's definitely a chip off the old block. You can see some talent there already, and just the way he's, you know, taking jumps and his body position, and it's just coming natural. I know at one time you were kind of like, I think moto's done for my family. Where are you at today? And then what are you feeling?
I still don't know, man. I don't know. I tell people I feel like the chain smoking dad that's like, these things will kill you, you know? I got 10 bikes in my garage right now, you know, probably 20 helmets, you know, trophies. And so for me to steal that from him might be tough, you know, and it is hard because he's got a talent for it. The way he rides his bike is pretty incredible. Like, I don't know, that's definitely a God-given thing.
That's not even, you're not even like, I'm objectively looking at it going, this kid's got skill.
And I tell you, I don't, other than the things that are going to keep him safe, I don't tell him a thing, you know, like, he's got a gift in that way. So I don't know. I still don't know the answer to the question. I'm trying to introduce him into everything.
Almost like, oh, maybe there's something else like golf. How about golf?
Climbing. That's why we're doing the climbing thing. Gymnastics, swimming, like just anything we can do. But if we do it, I want to do it for fun, and you know, I don't want him to feel pressure. You know, John Tomac did an incredible job with Eli, and I think it's because John was the cycling legend that he is, the downhill legend that he is. He understood. I think if you've been there, you understand that there's so much that you can do, and then the rest is just kind of up to how the cards fall. Yeah. You know, some of these parents that are really pushing their kids, they don't understand that. So you put kind of unneeded pressure on your children, and just creates a terrible environment. So if we do it, I want to do it locally and just for fun, make sure he's doing it safe. And, you know, if he's good, it'll happen.
Yep.
But yeah, no, the hardest part's going to be my wife. I mean,
yeah, I was going to ask you, how's she thinking about that?
I mean, she lived some of the gnarliest stuff that I went through. And so, you know, to send your child out to do that, you know, my in-laws for sure. I mean, they definitely don't understand, you know, the sport. So, you know, it'd be hard for them to stomach that. But, you know, I don't want to, you know, I've seen so many parents, especially in our faith walk, that so hard and limit their children so much that
Yeah.
when the kid's 18 or whatever, it just goes off the rails. So I
Mhm.
don't want to restrict him so much to where he like resents me. And then, there's this kind of like, surely I am the one that's going to lead him, but also, I don't want to steal from him something that could be really bring him a lot of joy. So,
Well, I think prayer, that goes back to keeping God number one in your life.
Yeah.
Whether it be
Yeah.
with you, with your marriage, and with raising your kids. If that is kept in focus and the number one goal, everything else falls into line.
Yeah.
Whether it's with him,
Yep.
riding or doing something else.
Yep.
And I mean that's really the crutch to fall back on.
Yep.
And it'll, I kind of joke, both my boys, I never wanted them to be cops, but I never told them they couldn't. Now
Yep.
they both want to be firefighters, so just the fact that they want to be a public servant, I'm
Yeah.
very blessed with that. But it's never been, I never pushed it on them. I'm like, whatever you guys want to do, right? Whatever God's calling you to do, then go do it.
Yep.
Whatever that is.
Yep.
So
yeah. I don't know. It's going to be hard, but I think that's
Yeah.
the way to approach it. I guess with everything in parenting, but I don't want to do the amateur motocross thing's gotten really out of hand as far as there's all these training facilities and parents kind of shipping their kids off for like
Well, isn't that what
months on
Robbie's
end.
doing?
Yeah, but Robbie's a little bit different. I think it's a little more local,
Mhm.
But I don't know. I hope if we do it, I could do it in a way and use my experience and my knowledge in a way that we wouldn't have to be so. I mean, people are like
they've-
mortgaging
I would say-
their
Hey,
homes.
they've
Yeah.
lost their mind. It doesn't matter if it's that or any other sports. As a society, parents have lost their ever loving mind
Yeah.
on that. That again, keeping God in your life and
Yeah.
that focus. But
I mean,
yeah, man,
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's a whole nother hour of conversation.
definitely would be cool to see another TC41 and maybe whatever it is, AC 42. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think God is gonna. If it's supposed to be, it will be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I do.
I don't think
You
you're
know,
gonna be able to stop it, bro.
he-
That dude is. You can see it in his eyes too.
Yeah, I mean, it's incentive a lot of time is like, hey, if you're good today, we'll go to the pump track, or if you listen to your mom while I'm gone, well, as soon as I get back, we'll go to the skate park. It's like,
Yeah, you turn around and the laundry's done, the dishes are done.
and
Like,
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great parenting tool, right?
It
Is-
is.
if they want something, there's this kind of like drive that helps them do it, and I love that I learned that from my sport. So
Discipline.
yeah, so
Some
I
discipline there.
I like that. I just I mean, it is. Always said the sport itself isn't danger; it's the athletes doing it. So it's hard to think about,
Yeah.
especially him. He's very he's not scared of much. So
Yeah.
there's a learning curve when you're not
good.
scared of much.
You know what? Last thing I'm going to say, and you just reminded me of something because I remember in your career there'd be like commentators say, if Trey would just turn it back a little bit, I think because he was so fast, and it would just be like almost too fast.
Yeah.
If he could just turn it down even 5%, he'd have a longer career. But then I go back to the characters in the Bible, like Caleb.
Yeah.
You're the kind of guy that'd be like, nope, I'm 85. There's giants over there.
We're going to war,
We're
baby.
going, and those are those true soldiers and warriors of God. We're not living for here. We're living for, our kingdom. And what do we get? What crowns do we get when we get there? But Trey, man, it's awesome. Can't believe we're here talking, but thank you for coming, brother. I appreciate it. And I thank you for what you did for my salvation.
Yeah, man. I think about you a lot. I know we've talked a lot, but you sometimes wonder like, what am I doing? But it's people like you that go like, yeah, that was worth it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.